Recording in progress.
Mayor and council, we are live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Sorry we were delayed in closed session. We did not handle the final two matters.
The council discussed items A, B, and C, and did not discuss items D, E, and F.
Correct. Thank you. And there is no reportable action. So if we can start with the calling of the roll.
Councilmember Cole.
Present.
Councilmember Hampton.
Blessed honor to be here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Councilmember Lyon.
Here.
Councilmember Madison.
Here.
Councilmember Masuda.
Here.
Vice Mayor Rivas.
Here.
Mayor Gordo.
Here.
There's a quorum of the council present.
Okay. Mr. Lyon, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. Please rise as you're able. Place your hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So
That's the script now.
okay, so welcome everyone again. Now is the time for the City Council's organizational meeting in accordance with Section 408 of the City Charter, which states its organizational meeting held annually in December, the City Council shall elect from among the council members a vice mayor who shall exercise the power and perform the duties of the mayor during the latter's absence or disability. And so I would now entertain a motion to adjourn the council sine die, the current council.
So moved.
Second.
And for the public, that just means the current council is adjourning, and then we reconstitute the council. Next,
Vote.
oh, I'm sorry. Are there any objections to the motion? No? Okay, so we are adjourned. Next, the city council will now conduct the election for the office of vice mayor for the ensuing term of 1 year. Nominations are now in order. Mr. Jones?
Mr. Mayor, I think I'm first in the queue.
Mr. Jones asked to be. Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So thanks, Mayor. And, I think there's been some discussion around whether the vice mayor is a 1 year term or a 2 year term. And whichever way the council goes, I'm happy to abide by. But, I think the whole issue of having a vice mayor for 1 year was because of, in the absence of the mayor, extended vacancy, that the vice mayor would have to step into that role. But I think that's now is a moot point, essentially because of the acting mayor that would be voted on if there was a extended vacancy by the mayor. And I do think the city deserves stability. So if the council, I'd like to hear what my colleagues think, but if we think we should return to 2 years, then I'm happy to abide by that, or I'm happy to, as I'm next in line, to accept the nomination to serve a 1 year term as well as vice mayor.
Okay. Mr. Cole?
I'll be brief. I support Mr. Jones to be the next vice mayor, whether that's tonight or in a year. And I am open-minded on the question of 2 years versus 1 year. And I note, as Mr. Jones has said, that things have changed since the original tradition of 2 1-year terms, which dates back to 1925, but was before we changed to a direct elected mayor in 1999, which took effect in the year 2000. So I, too, will listen to my colleagues who have more recent experience on this matter and prepared to make a nomination if and when we have a decision. But I do think it's important for clarity and consistency to decide whether we want to have 1 year or 2 years. Otherwise, it begins to feel like high school, right? And a lot of drama for no particular reason. I respect all my colleagues, and I know we take our responsibilities very seriously, and I think just a consistent policy of 1 year or 2 years is the best way for continuity and stability and to project to the public what I think is the reality, which is we are collegial here and we look forward to working together.
Thank you. Mr. Hampton?
I'm prepared to make a motion for Vice Mayor Rivas to continue to serve this year, and then followed by Councilmember Jones for 2 years. So I agree. I think that the 1 year idea was amazing to, just go ahead and go 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. And everybody would have a great opportunity to serve in this position. But I think that continuity means a lot here in this community, and having a vice mayor for 2 years, especially the 1 year. I mean, I served only a year and a couple months. And yeah, a year and 8 months. You said 8 months? Okay, thank you.
I counted.
But it was COVID though, so I don't even know that. I don't know if that counts, but.
But it was when we transitioned to the election, that's why.
Right, so our transitional election.
Even year.
And so I think that the continuity was helpful, having a 2 year vice mayor versus the 1 year. So I'm prepared to support my own motion. I'm prepared to move a motion. I'm making a motion to support Vice Mayor Rivas to continue to stay
For the
on.
purposes of discussion, I'll
And for
second the
Justin
motion.
Jones for the following.
For the
And I would
purposes
just
of
note,
discussion. Okay.
the charter says every year in December, there is an election. So you could again make that motion in next year.
Let me say this, and I understand the motion and the second to be that we would have continuity for 2 years and Ms. Rivas would serve 1 more year. I'm prepared to support that motion. I think, having served as both vice mayor and mayor, it is helpful to have the continuity. And the stability, for all the reasons that were stated. So if that's the motion, I would ask as a friendly amendment that we also give direction to the city clerk to come back with a policy, that will be the policy of the council, so that the council can consider that.
Mayor, I might suggest that you separate that and have your motion on the vice mayor, because that's an isolated action. And then secondly, have that motion that asks the city clerk to come back with a
Well, I
proposed
think it's
policy.
good to have, because Mr. Jones's gracious statement, I think opens the door for the question. I mean, if we're gonna go with 2 years, let's go with 2 years. And so, I suggest that we include that as part of the direction with this motion. To
Right,
come
and
back
I'm
with
just saying it's fine, just do it as separate motions. You could still direct staff to come back. I just think it would be cleaner if you have a motion on the mayor, the vice mayor.
No, don't get too far out.
A motion on the vice mayor, and then once that's finished, then someone would make a motion to the
Okay.
effect of what you're requesting.
Or we could flip the two, which might be more comfortable to your point.
Flip the two?
Yeah, I could take up the question of the 2 year, giving direction.
Well, there's a motion and a second, so I don't know
Yeah.
who gets to flip anything.
Okay, you still have speakers in the queue, Mayor.
Yeah.
Let's hear from everyone. Mr. Lyon?
Thank you, Mayor. If I could ask the city clerk to bring up the page that is still on our website that shows the ballot materials for Measure PB last year. I think the council's presuming to put itself in front of what the voters told us it will do. Measure PB will set the length of term for a council member serving as vice mayor at 1 year, providing more opportunities for council members to serve in this leadership capacity. So that means the term is 1 year. We could re-elect the vice mayor every year. I would be delighted to re-elect my friend Vice Mayor Rivas. We cannot establish a policy that the term is 2 years because the voters have spoken. It's in the charter. So this has been some cause of frustration in the background. We can elect and re-elect a vice mayor as many times as we want. I didn't see a term limit for vice mayor set by the voters, but the voters very clearly established that the term for vice mayor is 1 year. And so, if we elect my friend tonight, which I would love to do, then next year we'll have a new election and that will be for 1 year. And the year after that will be for something else. Personally, I think the 1 year policy makes more sense. I'm very sensitive to Mr. Madison's point a few years ago that doing the 2 year terms creates a situation where the more senior members of the council likely never serve again as vice mayor because you go through 2 vice mayors in a single term of office. If it's a year, what happens now is that whether it's Ms. Rivas or it goes to Mr. Jones, then I would be the next in line. Then Mr. Cole would be next in line. 3 years are out of the way and we're back to the top of the order. Whereas if we go with a 2 year term, first of all, we'd have to change the charter. But second of all, you're talking about 7 more years until we ever get back to the beginning of the line. But for this question, there is no question that the term for the vice mayor is 1 year. And so we can elect whoever we want for that 1 year, but we can't change the policy.
Well, we can change the policy, we can't change the charter. Now,
We cannot change the policy, Mayor, and that's incorrect. The charter says this is what the people voted for.
But what I'm suggesting is this. The charter language to me is permissive. It allows, we're not changing the term where we would be electing for 1 year. Outside and apart from that, let me ask it as a question. My read is the charter sets the 1 year term. In other words, we wouldn't say someone is vice mayor for the next 2 years. But we could say it is the policy, given the permissive language in the charter that of the council that we would set the term consistent with the charter for 1 year, but agree that we are going to allow people to serve 2 years.
I think that's overriding the will of the voters. They voted more than 80% yes on Measure PB. We told them it sets the term at a year.
It does.
So I don't think you're in the position to override them and
I'm
say
not.
that we're going to make it a 2 year term, even though they voted to make it a year.
I'm not, it is a year. It's perfectly consistent. It's a 1 year term, but we could, as a council, decide that we want our vice mayor to serve 2 years. Now, we still hold the election, and that's what it used to be, but the language is permissive. We're not changing the term. The election would happen every year for 1 year term consistent with the charter.
But you're saying the second vote is a sham because we're going to vote to re-elect the same person.
Anything could change, but that would be our policy. That would be the intent. And I've been around long enough to see vice mayors denied the opportunity to serve that second year. When that tradition, that practice, that policy since 1925, Mr. Cole, was in place, vice mayors were denied that second term for whatever reason. And so I don't see that as being inconsistent.
For the past 7 years, we've only held the organizational meeting every other year. So the election's been every other year. Prior to that, there were annual meetings, but since 2018.
No.
Since 2020 was when we started with the organizational meeting occurring in December.
Right.
After the election. That's how it was written.
2 years back.
So it was 2 years back. And then in 2022, the issue came up about the need to go back to an annual organizational meeting, and that's why that got put into the charter reform charge. And the charter reform came back with annual organizational meetings that occur in December.
Yeah.
So as a Brown Act matter, can we even talk about establishing a policy for a 2-year term?
Well, what you can do is direct staff to return with something that's related to this, but you wouldn't take any action on
Yeah.
an actual policy. So that would give an opportunity to address any issues in a report that would return with any limitations on that and potential language, et cetera. It would be considered on an agendized item in the future. You're not voting on whether to have that policy or not. It's just asking staff to return.
with the policy.
Staff, well, the city clerk, to return with, return with.
The clerk and the city attorney.
With something that would consider that and would raise whatever issues there are and any limitations.
Mr. Clerk, you staffed the Charter Reform Task Force. My understanding is the task force did consider the issue of 1 year versus 2 years, or it was raised by a member of the task force.
They discussed it. Their motion was to recommend amending the charter to change the timing of the vice mayor selection to occur annually in December, with the vice mayor to serve for a term of 1 year, which was supported unanimously by the task force. The task force also unanimously recommended that when selecting the vice mayor, the council consider seniority and allow for rotational participation, though neither factor need be a requirement. So at the time, the Charter Study Task Force saw that as an issue, but wanted to leave it in the hands of the council on how to proceed. They did not provide a term limit recommendation on the vice mayor.
And that's what I'm suggesting we take off. So that language, in my view, is permissive and allows the council to set the policy. As long as we don't change the term, we don't say we go beyond 1 year. I agree with you 100%. 1 year per term can happen every year, but we can set a policy ourselves to give effect to that.
Well,
I disagree,
Well,
but I
when
don't
we
think that
return,
question's
Yeah.
before us.
it's
So if
something
we
that
can split
considers-
that out,
Sure.
I'm happy to vote on the 1 year for the vice mayor.
they should be in two motions today, because you're voting on the vice mayor, and you do have two more people in your
Yeah, let me
queue.
just say that, I think in terms of, well, let's hear from everyone else. Ms. Rivas, Mr. Madison, followed by Mr. Rivas.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I may have the distinction of being the only two-time vice mayor in the city's history. And I agree with Mr. Lyon, that shouldn't be foreclosed in the future. And one-year terms certainly would provide a greater opportunity, especially now that there are term limits. If you just do the math, if you have 12 years on the council and there are 7 of us eligible, it's possible that you might not even get once around the horn, as it were. But I want to just ask some questions about, I've got both charters here, the one that we amended last election and then the one that now exists. And the prior one said, at its organizational meeting, the council shall elect from among the council members a vice mayor. But at that time, we were only meeting, doing organizational meetings, reorg meetings every 2 years, correct?
That's correct, because we were, prior to 2020, the council had an organizational meeting every year. First meeting in May, first Monday in May was the organizational meeting. So when we were doing odd year elections, we would have a March primary, an April runoff, and the first meeting in May, the first Monday in May, would be the organizational meeting, and then 1 year later would be an off election year organizational meeting. I have records that go back to that. So
What this amended, this most recent 2024 vote amended what was done with the every 2 years for the new
Right.
election on the even years.
So when
Prior to that, it was every year. The other, so you'd have to look at another version of the charter section that preceded that one.
Right.
Regarding organizational meetings?
Yes. It would have been.
There was no reason for an organizational meeting.
1998.
When I served as vice mayor.
What was the code section, or the section of the charter?
408 now. I don't know. It might have been 407 before.
And it might have been, and I don't have it in front of me, it might have amended section 401, because initially, section 401 is what, that's how the charter was changed to go from odd year elections to even year elections.
And so it might have been in 1998 in November, and that's,
I can bring back that information in the future to
When you come back
show
with the-
how the charter changed from 2017 to 2018 was the recommendation to change the charter to even year elections, and then 2020, 22, and then 24, we changed the charter to this version.
But it was still every other year.
no, not before then.
It was every
It
year.
was every year.
It was every year.
When I served as vice
So
mayor.
the
I
prior
was elected
version
to-
of the charter would
Yes.
say
Right.
annual.
It
Right.
was an annual.
Do you have that language?
We can pull it up, and that's why that consideration isn't agendized or anything. It's tangentially related to selection of the vice mayor.
Of course it is.
But if the city clerk returns with an agenda report where you look at that, he would return with the research that addresses that.
So my question then is, did the current version of the charter, with the amendments that we've looked at, when did that become effective?
It was voted on,
It was voted November 5th,
November.
2024, and it became effective upon
with this-
certification with the Secretary of State, which was a few days
I
later.
think it was like, yeah, late December, late November.
Middle of December, after we
After they
certified the
certified the
election, which
election.
was the fifth Monday following the election. We certified the election, and a few days after that, we filed that with the Secretary of State's office.
Okay. I would like to see that earlier version, because to me, it looks like, on paper, we had an organizational meeting when we had elections, and that was every 2 years.
But it was every year.
Okay, we can keep doing this, but I'm telling you how I see it, okay? And then when we had charter reform, we now expressly provide that we'll have an annual organizational meeting. If we
Correct.
said that
That's
previously,
correct.
I'd love to see it. But, so what you're saying is there was only an organizational meeting for the purpose of electing a vice mayor in off years previously?
Yes.
Okay.
For
Yeah,
many
I'd love to
years.
see the support in the charter for that.
Okay.
But I do agree with Mr. Lyon, the charter now says we'll do it annually. And so that's what we're doing tonight. I'd be happy, Mayor, to take it to ledge policy if there's interest in a policy or
I think it
a
should
practice.
come-
But it'd be hard for me to see council being bound by a policy that would contradict the charter if you have to have an election every year.
I don't think, it was more of a tradition and a practice, but there was also some an important reason for it. We had a rotational mayor, and not a directly elected mayor. And so the mayor would serve first first someone would serve as vice mayor, then rotate for 2 years, and then rotate into the mayorship for 2 years. That was.
But both one-year terms. When I
But
was
both-
vice
yes.
mayor, I was elected twice vice mayor. and
That's
When
correct.
I was mayor, I was elected twice as mayor.
Right.
And the reason, during the time I served, that the election for mayor was not right after an election was because Clarence Oakley in 1965 was denied a second year as mayor. So that threw the rotation off for the subsequent decades.
So
it
you-
was annual.
Councilmember, you served 2 terms as vice mayor?
Correct.
2 two-year terms?
2 one-year terms.
2 one-year terms.
The term, I think we're conflating term with.
Confused now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the term, we're not changing. The charter is very clear. I agree with Mr. Lyon. It's a 1 year. The practice, the tradition, and was to go with the vice mayor for the first year, with the understanding that, you know, if all went well, and it didn't always go well, you were around a few times. If it didn't go well, then that person would not receive the second year. But that was the practice. It's the practice. You and I served on the council since 2001. You before me, that was the practice every single year.
It was 1+1.
Yeah.
That
was
wasn't 2
intent.
years, except for in 2020, it was 2 years, because we had switched to even year elections. We weren't going to have an annual organizational meeting in between 20 and 22, because that was not provided for in the charter. And so it was a 2-year election that was for Vice Mayor Wilson, Andy Wilson, served from 20 to 22.
And look, one other point, then I'll turn to Ms. Rivas. You know,
You were right before it.
as mayor, for me, I would say to you that having that continuity is helpful. You know, sometimes people are called on to attend meetings, regional meetings. Ms. Rivas has done that. And, you know, having someone who has at least had the experience of attending some and knowing the lay of the land for some of these regional groups is very helpful. Otherwise, we're just, you know, sending people in without the knowledge and experience. And so from that perspective, it's also helpful to me and to the staff and to the person serving as vice mayor.
Yeah, so I would just say, I support the motion to re-elect Vice Mayor Rivas. I would struggle with anything that would look like it contradicts the express will of the voters here in the most recent charter reform, that we have an election every year, and that should be a free and open election without any sort of set expectations or policies or anything. But I'm happy to take it to ledge policy and have a discussion about it. So thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Rivas?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. So it's clear there's some confusion about all of this, and I think it is worthwhile to have staff dig into it and see if we can codify it in a policy. I think that would certainly be ideal if we could, just to avoid this confusion every time it comes around. But I think Councilmember Lyon and Councilmember Madison make very good points that it may not be permitted by our charter language. We don't have to figure that out tonight. We can have staff dig into that. Maybe it comes to ledge pol or back to the council, either way. But I am honored by the motion to serve a second one-year term, and I appreciate that. And so I look forward to whatever the council decides. Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
Well, I just want to be clear on the process, because if it's not a guarantee that I would get, you know, I mean, it's a ceremonial position, but I would just like, I believe Councilmember Lyon and others would want the opportunity to serve as vice mayor. And so if it's not a guarantee that I'm next in line to get the 2 years, then I would graciously accept the 1 year this time around. If we can't, like Mr. Madison is saying, bind a future council from making the motion. What the motion I heard was Ms. Rivas for this year and then me for the 2 years following that. Yeah. And,
Well,
yeah.
and so I tried to address that and say it can only be for 1 year. And there really can't be a guarantee that you would serve. There could be this discussion that took place that could be called back upon to say the expectation was this, but it could be any member of the council. Always. Every year it could be any member. You have a practice of seniority and that kind of thing, but it could be any council member.
And that's what I'm suggesting we do, that we look at essentially memorializing in a policy the council's intent to have, to apply the seniority as we have since 1925 apparently, for the most part, of seniority in the council member who has not served.
Right.
And that's what I'm suggesting we reduce to a policy that would guide. Now, it's not binding, you know, things have, even with that practice in place, It didn't always go that way because colleagues decided, that for whatever reason, someone had not earned the right to hold the position. But in terms of continuity, stability, and having the practical experience to step in, particularly with regional bodies, I suggest it's a good idea to have that policy in place. Mr. Masuda, followed by Mr. Lyon.
Thank you, Mayor. I support the motion. I served as vice mayor as 2 1-year being vice mayor, so I just think that's the way to do it. So thank you so much, and I'll support the motion.
Thank you. Mr. Lyon?
Thank you, Mayor. So I think we ended up saying we're electing for 1 year, and that's where we are, which sounds good. And we'll table talking about the policy later. I think I haven't heard any reason why that policy makes sense, but I'm totally open to it as a policy. I certainly like the tradition of the next most senior member coming up. I think it's a nice way to distribute leadership. But for now, it's important to me, clearly, that we're consistent with the charter, and what we're doing is electing tonight for 1 year a vice mayor, and what we do next year is what we do next year. Okay, thanks.
And how about on the policy of reducing council policy?
Well, it's not
That's a
before us,
sep-
but
that's not this
I personally
motion.
don't think we can do that, but I would wait for the city attorney's
But you
advice
support
too.
giving direction for them to come?
That's a
bring
separate
that back.
motion, though.
Separate motion, but absolutely, yeah, because it sounds like there is interest among my colleagues in
Okay.
doing it that way, but I personally, I don't know that I would support it, but it's not in front of us. Thanks.
Mr.
Madison.
Madison?
Mr. Cole, sorry.
Oh, Mr. Cole, followed by Mr. Madison.
Sorry. I was prepared to nominate either our vice mayor for a second year in office or the next person I consider in line, Mr. Jones, for a 1-year term. I'm uncomfortable with the straddle. The original motion I seconded, I like the idea of giving consistency. And I recognize the arguments made by my colleagues. I think there's a difference between a term, which is 1 year, always has been 1 year, and an approach which minimizes the personal jockeying, the political gamesmanship, the perceptions in the community of fairness. Those are important to me that transcend as John Nance Garner said about the vice presidency of the United States, it isn't worth a bucket of warm spit. I'm not sure he was correctly quoted. And the vice mayorship is a nice thing to have, but it's not all that crucial. I did it for 2 years, and the primary responsibility rests with the mayor. I'd like to see the vice mayor have more involvement. When I served as mayor, the vice mayor sat in on agenda review, every meeting, et cetera. That to me was a meaningful role. So I'm frankly very conflicted here tonight. I look forward to a second year of Ms. Rivas. That would be my preference. If it's not a second year for Mr. Jones, I have a hard time saying that we're going to make that this time we're going to do it this way, and next time we'll do it some other way, because next time I don't want to repeat this whole shenanigans.
Yeah. Mr. Madison?
Thank you, Mayor. I just, it's such a shame that, we just did charter reform last fall, and if these things were top of mind, we had an opportunity to put it into the charter. So, that gives me even more discomfort with any future, we have elections next year, the composition of the council may or may not change. But I'm very comfortable with the practice that we've had over the years of having seniority be the sort of the default, and 2 1-year terms is fine unless it becomes a problem and it deprives people of the opportunity to serve. So I think with the addition of the acting mayor position, someone else already made this point, but a lot of the political posturing should be out of this decision altogether. Because I don't think it ever was a presumptive
Could you take it down?
advantage in that regard, but now it's clear it's just to serve. And in terms of the other roles and all there, again, the charter speaks to that. The duty is, can you put that back up, please?
Oh, sorry. I was just,
The obligation is to act in the mayor's absence from the city or disability, which, as I said at my second.
Or recusal.
Induction, or recusal, correct. Absence due to recusal, I suppose, which when I said at my second induction, it was like being the Maytag repairman with you and Mayor Bogart, it's like not something that required a whole lot of activity. So, thanks, Mayor.
Because we were doing our job.
Of course, yeah.
So
The motion?
let me just say, Mr. Madison, yeah, this doesn't change, the two-year concept doesn't change, in my view, any of the seniority issues or any of the issues that you described. And, the charter reform, if we did have an opportunity to say 1 year and 1 year only. We didn't. The recommendation of the Charter Task Force didn't include it, and those recommendations came to the City Council, and this council didn't include it. And so, what I'm suggesting is we have the 1 year term, the election yearly, but with in the context of a policy that I hope we do adopt for all the reasons Mr. Cole and others have stated, that gives us the stability for 2 years. Mr. Cole?
Well, I'm sorry, Mayor, but I disagree respectfully. That's not transparent. It's not, frankly, straightforward with the residents. I mean, the charter language has to mean something, and it says every year we do this. If we had said every year we'll do it for a 2 year term, well, then we could have done that, but we didn't. So I don't think the failure to include more detail about an annual election can be read as somehow creating an exception.
It was always a 1 year term, always. That wasn't changed by the charter. It was always a 1 year term with the practice of going 2 years. That was not changed by the charter at all. That's always been the case.
And I agree with you there, but you're suggesting something more formal, a policy that the city council would vote on prospectively that would contradict the language of the charter. I can't go there.
It's not going to contradict it. It will give effect to language. But anyway, Mr. Cole, did you?
I was asking the status of the motion.
There's a motion on the floor.
Okay.
Is the motion in order? The motion that I
Yes.
seconded?
Yes, nominate Jessica Rivas to serve as vice mayor for a term of 1 year.
That's not the motion I seconded. I'm
Oh.
sorry.
That was,
The motion
think
I
he
seconded
amended-
was, the motion I seconded was to,
With the next,
yes.
To
So,
second year.
so is that not that's not the motion now?
that's correct.
the motion can be to nominate Jessica Rivas for this 1 year term, and based on our historical data, I guess the way we normally do it, our normal practice. Tradition, thank you. Justin Jones will be up next.
But it doesn't sound like there is support for that type of
But is there support?
motion.
Are we in agreement that Justin Jones is the next vice mayor?
Well, I don't know that you need to personalize it,
I'm
but
just asking.
no, but
Council member who's sitting,
yeah, I mean, the practice has been 2 1 year terms with seniority being the default. So if we're all sitting here a year from now, I absolutely would think it'd be Councilmember Jones.
that's the
Yeah.
point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's under the way the council is constituted now, you're correct, Mr. Madison. I'm glad you stated that, because it would be Justin Jones, and that's what I'm suggesting that we make clear. But elections come and go. We have how many how many seats up? 3 seats up.
To 6, 3, 5, and 7.
Yeah, and so if the council is not constituted as it is today, then of course we have to revisit that. But I think your point, it should be Mr. Jones, consistent with Mr. Hampton, and I believe Mr. Cole and others is the correct one. And so we should just be transparent about it and have that come back to us as a policy right here in these chambers in front of the cameras and the voters. So
the motion to nominate Jess Rivas to serve as a vice mayor for a term of 1 year is consistent with what's agendized and would be appropriate. I don't think it would be appropriate to include in that motion something for other future years. I think it would be appropriate to have a separate motion that says staff return with what you've discussed.
And Mayor, if I may, both of these extraordinary colleagues have made clear that they are okay with a 1 year or a 2 year.
Right.
What they are asking for is to be treated equitably. And that's my concern, is equity and fairness. So I can live, as both of them can, with either a 1 year or 2 year. But for us, a 2 1 year or 1 1 year. But I'm really deeply uncomfortable with kicking this to, further ambiguity and the opportunity for gamesmanship in the future. Look, things happen, and, we could have 3 new council members, and neither of our colleagues could be back here, or they could choose not to run, or what have you. But I went through the election of, I was not yet on the council, I was a field rep. I went through the election of our first African-American female mayor, and an effort was made to block her on a technicality that generated deep and abiding wounds. And it was blocked because of simple fairness. And Loretta Thompson Glickman, whose picture hangs on the wall and who's left us for upstairs, was the first African-American woman, not only in Pasadena's history, but in any city of over 100,000 in America. So that shadows me, is the sense of fairness and equity. I look forward to either one of these fine individuals serving us in the years ahead. But I'm just uncomfortable saying, well, we'll boot this for future consideration. So that's my discomfort. I'm not sure how to resolve it, because we've been told we really can't set any expectations here. But I think expectations are what the community looks to us for. And so I'm concerned about where we stand now.
Well, we could have the second motion as the mayor's laid out, directing staff to look into this, which I think is appropriate. We don't have to resolve this tonight. They'll look into it, get back to us. We'll debate it further then. I don't think we need to
absolutely
figure it out all right now.
So, but let me just be on record here. I intend next year to nominate Mr. Jones as vice mayor of the city.
And I intend to second that nomination, because that is the right thing to do as we talk about equity.
That's right. And so I just want that to be clear.
But
And that is
that
my
is,
view as
it has
well.
no place at tonight's meeting. This is the kind of political gamesmanship that we ought to rid our meetings of.
And I don't want to have it
The
every
charter
year.
says we have to do that next year.
I'm just expressing my intention. I'm not asking for a vote.
About the reorganization meeting a year from now.
Yeah, barring some unforeseen circumstances, yeah.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second.
So, Mayor, I mean, I just feel uncomfortable with the way it's going. To Mr. Cole's point,
I mean, this whole entire discussion has
Yeah.
been a little off, but we have a vice mayor. I made a motion. I plan on keeping that motion. I plan on voting on that motion. And And I've already expressed my intent, God willing, that I'm here next year.
Me too.
That based on our tradition, Justin Jones, as long as he is reelected, which God willing he will be, will serve as our next vice mayor.
That too is my intent. Okay.
Roll call.
And I see Ms. Rivas nodding her head yes as well. So,
Roll call.
okay. So roll call?
So should we take the other vote first for the policy?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And again, it's not the policy, it's
It's
returning
return.
Yeah.
with an analysis.
Yeah.
But there
Oh,
is a
sure,
motion,
sure.
so it would have to be a substitute motion.
Well, we
to-
could take it next.
Yes, you could take it next. It would
Yeah.
be the next motion that someone would need to make.
Because I remember we elected 2 vice mayors on one night when it was Felicia and Steve.
That is correct.
Right, but
We did do that.
but at that time, we had 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have this provision
I
in
see.
our charter.
I see.
Yeah, we abandoned the practice, and, you know, I think it was a mistake.
But we didn't have this language in our
Right.
charter then.
Roll call.
Okay, and the tradition was abandoned. Roll call?
To approve the motion to nominate Jessica Rivas to serve as vice mayor for a term of 1 year. Councilmember Cole?
Abstain.
Councilmember Hampton?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Abstain.
Councilmember Lyon?
Yes.
Councilmember Madison?
Yes.
Councilmember Masuda?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rivas?
Yes.
Mayor Gordo?
Yes.
6 in favor, 2 abstention, the motion passes.
Okay, now on the question of
Direction to staff.
direction to staff to come back to us with a policy that would be consistent with the charter for 2 years. As an intent.
For 2 one-year terms.
Thank you, two 1-year terms.
Well, if you want to get to consensus and unanimity, it should be come back with a report on ways that we can handle extended nominations, as opposed to come back with a policy that lets us do 2. Because if we're all voting for future meetings tonight, I'm not going to be voting for a policy that sets a 2-year policy. I don't mind setting the presumed succession, because that's not inconsistent with the charter, but the 2-year thing, I think, is inconsistent with the charter. So if we make that direction a little bit looser to come back and advise on these issues, then I think you probably have all of us on board.
On the both, the presumed
Including both
order of
issues.
succession and
Yeah.
the 2 years.
And the
Yeah.
presumed order of succession would be Mr. Jones.
Yeah, be great to clarify both those things. So let's do what we
Fair
can, or at least have staff tell us what we can do there.
With the point of bringing kind of predictability and cohesion.
Thank you.
Seems like a good idea.
Okay. Is there a motion to that effect?
I was trying to talk you into your motion. I'll move that if it made sense to you.
Yep.
And I'll second it.
To return with information and a policy consistent with the city charter on the presumed succession plan for vice mayor. I don't know if that's
Well,
the,
and the presumption is that Mr. Jones would be the,
I would strike the end of policy. Yeah, I wouldn't, let's not put any presumptions
It would
on
be-
it, so this is what I'm trying to make it,
Yeah.
not to make it.
Right.
So advise us on our ability to create a succession order and on our ability to plan ahead for 2 1-year terms versus 1 1-year term for the vice mayor. How's that?
The succession order, like the definition, the most senior member
The
who
next
hasn't
most senior,
served. Right, right,
yeah.
right.
1-year terms.
And perhaps the clerk would identify with the current makeup of the council, the succession, or it would just,
Why?
Yeah,
that's
Why?
right.
Why is
Okay.
it so important to attach names to this?
I think
You and
it's
I got to get
important.
reelected
No, I-
before we even talk about
mean-
this.
Look,
So-
I can't speak for Councilmember Jones, but I can speak as a person who's been here, who's seen historically wrongs happen to people that look like me and Councilmember Jones.
No question.
And so,
No question.
yes, he wants to make sure that he is in line. And I'm very much in support of his service because he does an amazing job as a council member. and he would
But
be
those
an
are
amazing
political
vice mayor.
comments. Why are you making political
It's not a
comments
political
about
comment.
an
This
individual?
This is a who I wake up to be every day comment, okay? This is what,
okay.
that's what that comment is.
Okay.
That's who I am. So I understand where he's coming from. You don't. So it's not a political comment.
So let's, and I've already stated my intention for the next organizational meeting. So let's.
Where did the motion end up? Will you read it to us or show it to us? Now that we have that.
To return with information and advise on the ability to create a succession order in relation to the vice mayor position, including 2 one-year terms.
Okay, good enough.
Thank you. Okay.
So that's a motion and a second.
And which staff is the city attorney's office taking that?
City clerk with the city attorney working
Great.
jointly.
Thank you, Mayor.
Rivas was second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call?
Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Hampton?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Lyon?
Yes.
Councilmember Madison?
Yes.
Councilmember Masuda?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rivas?
Yes.
Mayor Gordo?
Yes.
Motion is approved without opposition.
And I want to congratulate our Vice Mayor on her reelection. As she knows, and I hope the community knows, I have the utmost confidence in her leadership, and my abstention was as I expressed.
Okay. With that, let's move on to public comment for, well, let's,
We now proceed
yeah,
with the
proceed with the regular business of the council.
remaining business.
And we do have a heavy agenda, and so, how many cards do we have?
Well, we have 8, 12, 16, 21,
Okay.
maybe more.
So why don't we start with
1 minute?
1 minute? If anyone wishes to have more time, you're free to stay to after the regular business on the agenda is completed, and we will give you more time. But in order to get to the agenda, as it's been published, we're going to afford 1 minute to try and get as many people through as we can.
Are we skipping over the vice mayor comments? I mean, we probably beat this to
Oh.
death, but.
I don't have much more to say, just
Oh,
thank
I'm
you.
sorry. I apologize.
Very
You're-
honored and
you're
look
right.
forward to continue
Thank
serving.
you.
It's been quite a year, and so I was honored to fill in for you whenever you needed. You had to be in many places this year, and so I was honored to do that and look forward to continue working with you and the whole council.
Thank you,
Mayor.
and I appreciate it. This was a challenging year for all of us, and it was helpful to have
Thank you.
you help me be in multiple places ably. And so I look forward to a second year and then look forward to working with Mr. Jones.
And Mayor, to Mr. Madison, will I be able to make comments next year?
Guess Mr. Hampton will make those for you, too.
You got to run for office again. We both do. Before that happens.
Let's take a moment and congratulate the Vice Mayor.
Thank you. It is often a thankless job to be called at the last minute and often say, can you pinch hit? So thank you.
Public comment?
Thank you, Ms. Rivas. Public comment for matters not on the agenda.
Reverend Joe Ruse, are you here? Followed by Elijah Raw, then Olden Denham, then Alan Shea.
If you hear your name, please work your way to the center aisle and form a line.
I'll ring a bell when you have 30 seconds left. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Reverend Joe Rose. I'm a Mennonite pastor. I come before you now to ask you to agendize a divestment resolution that includes a call for the fire and police retirement system to divest from U.S. companies who are involved and the genocide in Gaza. I just returned from 10 days in the West Bank with co-leading a delegation with Randy Hein Lamb. I've been there 6 times. This was the hardest. People are feeling a deepening sense of fear around the violence that is being perpetrated by the Israeli Defense Forces. We met with some kindergarten students who were very joyous in meeting with us, but we found out afterwards that each of those students and their family have had Israel's forces
Reverend
break into
Rose,
their
your
doors
time has
at
expired.
3 o'clock in the morning and to have a rifle just pointed in their face. Their teacher feels
Sir,
fear every day.
Sir,
when
your
she comes
time
to
is
school.
Elijah
expired.
Raw,
Thank you.
followed by,
Your time has expired, yeah. Thank you for your comments.
And Mayor, if
Elijah-
it's helpful to the speakers, I believe we have a ledge policy agenda item for December 18.
That's correct,
Mark, have we
5:30
locked
PM.
that date in to discuss these
or it might be 5 PM, I don't.
questions?
Yeah.
December 18, the Legislative Policy Committee of the Pasadena City Council in this room. So come one, come all, and I'm sure they will.
Mr. Raw, go ahead.
Again, if you hear your name, please work your way to the,
Followed by Olden Denham, then Alan Shea, then Connie Della Torre. Tori, go ahead.
Greetings, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for agendizing ethical investment in the Legislative Policy Committee. To create a proper investment policy, the city must mention the genocide in Gaza perpetrated by Israel. The U.S. is arming Israel and using funds and diplomacy to advocate for the genocide. America plays an important role in starting and perpetuating the genocide, and we play a crucial role in ending it. To play a part in the ending of the genocide in Gaza is the only ethical way in which to go about any investment policy. Israel has violated the ceasefire established and has murdered journalists who cover the genocide. I implore the city to pass a resolution calling on the FPRS board to divest, which the council did during South African apartheid, and in which the FPRS divested from South Africa. Thank you.
Olden Denham, followed by Alan Shea, then Connie Della Torre.
Good evening, everyone. I'm still here, yes. And I'm astounded and I almost can't believe the fact that this has been going on this long. But I can't let this go because I know what I see and I know the truth. And I know some of you in here know the truth as well as me. And I see Michelle left. I know she knows because I met her in her office and we went over the law and the fact, the Anthony McLean thing. I can't believe this systemic racism has embedded itself so deep into what I thought was, and my mistake was the thinking that you people were elected to represent the people of the streets. No, you're representing the house that you're representing. And you want, and the whole thing is, like I say, I know some of you know the truth, and you still won't stand up for the truth, which is the law. This is a law that was on the book at that time, and at any rate, I am not going to let this go because this is a wrong that must be readdressed, and I'll keep confronting you, and I'll confront anyone else. And I've talked to many of you, and many of you know this boy did nothing dangerous to commit to.
sir.
Mr. Denham.
I know my time is up.
Thank you, Mr.
But we all know what I'm about, and I'm
Thank
calling
you.
for to re-examine that, have a real
Thank-
conversation about the Anthony
Thank you, Mr.
McLean
Denham.
in relevance to the AB 319.
Thank you, Mr. Denham.
Alan Shea, followed by
Mr.
Connie
Shea.
Della Torre, then Renee Gonzalez, then Vincent Gonzalez, and Metzel Alcantar. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Alan Shea, and I'm going to make mine real quick. First, I want to acknowledge Miss Heavenly Hughes for an incredible event she had last Thursday, where she gave out over $200,000 to residents and businesses of Altadena. Unlike our own leaders here in Pasadena, she showed leadership and she showed the ability to create funding within a couple of weeks, unlike some of our leaders here. So I give my hat off to Ms. Hughes for making such a bold commitment. Secondly, I'd like the records to reflect that the September 29th council meeting that we held regarding an alleged statement of Mr. Odom Denham and myself regarding our objective only to discuss the Oversight Commission It was not correct. The correction was to have a discussion to bring forth AB 392 and determine whether that
Mr.
law
Shea.
was applied or whether
Thank-
that law was
Mis-
effective. It was
Mr.
effective
Shea.
when Anthony McLean was
Mr.
murdered.
Shea, your time, thank you.
Connie Delatorre, not here. Renee, oh, there you go.
Ms.
Great,
Delatorre.
thank you. Sorry about that. Oh, there's Renee Gonzalez.
Happy
And then,
birthday.
Vicente Gonzalez is after. Go ahead.
Hi, greetings to all corazones. Mayor Victor Gordon, Vice Mayor Jessica Rivas, and councilmen. My name is Connie De La Torre, Vice President of Pasadena International Sister City Association and Vice Chair of the Guanajuato Proposed Affiliation Committee. We just returned from our second successful cultural exchange visit to Guanajuato. It is a beautiful place. We are proudly presenting this report and asking every one of you to know, to now do your part in the sister cities international process by accepting our recommendation and making the Guanajuato proposed affiliation official. Our large Latin and Mexican community has been omitted from this program for far too long. Our people need to proper representation by elected officials. I have personally knocking on doors for some of you and ask community to endorse you. This is the time for your elected officials to respect and
Ms.
respond.
Delatorre, your
to the-
time has expired.
Excuse me, it's done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, the only thing, I just want to say that, please, you have already the form that, we submitted, and please
Thank
support us because
Thank you, Ms. Delatorre.
we need your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Renee
I love
Gonzalez.
you all, and
Thank you.
good job for you guys.
Followed by
¡Que viva México!
Mr. Gonzalez.
Vicente Gonzalez, then Metzel Alcantar.
Was that Vicente?
Vicente is at, first it's Renee and then
Yeah,
Vicente.
Mr. Gonzalez, then.
Right, so, yes, just like our Vice President Connie stated, our job is done, the civic side is done, you guys have the report. This demonstrates the continuous interest on both sides, and thank you very much for those who responded to the invitation to Mayor Smith. Hopefully this year we can all, put everything aside and just focus on international diplomacy and visit Guanajuato as one. And so I invite everybody to consider that. They will welcome us with open arms. The interest is strong. The relationship is very strong. And with the Grupo Amigos Pasadena formation in Guanajuato and in Pasadena, this will only get bigger and bigger as the years come by. The opportunities are endless. And just like Eisenhower said in 1956, let's not find one opportunity, but thousands of opportunities to help each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Gonzalez.
Vicente Gonzalez, followed by Metzley Alcantar, then Reverend
Both-
Phyllis
both-
Griffin. and
Both
then-
students have left. They had to go somewhere.
Thank you.
And then Bob Nymack.
That was online submission.
It says in person. Let me just go through it and we'll come back to him. So you're saying Bob Nymack is online?
He submitted his comment online,
Okay, so-
and he wanted to come, but he didn't feel
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Abel Flores? No?
We're gonna skip that one.
Alone?
Let's let Mr. Flores speak for himself. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Is Abel Flores in the room, or
Alon Friedman?
is Mr. Flores? Mr. Flores, did you want to speak? Mr. Gonzalez, please?
No, thank you.
Okay, okay.
And then Alon Friedman?
Actually, I'm not going to speak to give everybody more time, so my colleague Ed Sewell is going to speak. He's also filled out a card.
Okay, hold on one second. Carlos Bahina? He left.
It's a-
Ed
Thank you,
Sewell?
Mr. Gonzalez.
Go ahead. Come forward, Mr. Sewell.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Gordo and esteemed council members. My name is Edward Sewell. This full statement and a book, Nuclear War, have been distributed to each of you this evening. We would like to put this important topic on the agenda at some point. I'm an activist from back from the brink, a national grassroots campaign bringing communities together to abolish nuclear weapons and prevent nuclear war. Our campaign does not request immediate elimination of nuclear weapons, but rather seeks to educate and restart efforts toward eliminating these awful instruments of death and destruction. Tonight, I ask you to sign on individually and collectively to a resolution to abolish nuclear weapons. Please note that Council members Cole and Hampton have submitted personal resolutions of support. In 1984...
Sir, your time has expired. Jesse Merez, followed by Charis Campos. Jesse Merez, yes, no? Charis Campos, no? Randall Hine Lamb, followed by Michael Warner, then Kevin Mardisich, then Sharon Braxton, then Jose Maria Rios Espada.
So if you've heard your name, please form a line in the middle aisle.
I heard my name, but I was at the back of the room. Sorry.
It's okay, go ahead.
Randall Hine Lamb, 25-year resident of Pasadena and a homeowner in District 5. I had some more extensive remarks that I hoped to make, but I can't stay here until whenever this meeting will be over. And I won't disrespect the stories that I was going to tell you here tonight in the way that it seems like this council disrespected the people who were lining the walls asking to speak. So I just wanted to say I'm glad that you've decided to agendize this issue on the 18th of ethical investment. And I hope that you will try to divest from companies that are profiting from the occupation and genocide. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Michael Warner, followed by Kevin Mardisich,
Warner.
and then Sharon Braxton.
Michael Warner, hopefully all of you have received this already. I'm only going to read the first paragraph. Jessica, congratulations on being vice mayor again. I am from District 5, so that's why I say that. Dear Mayor Gordo and City Council, Pasadena has 2 existing friendship cities, Kaskabi, Japan, established by Rick Cole, and Paju, South Korea, established by Mayor Bill Bogard. With more friendship cities pending, such as Tainan, Taiwan, and many friendship cities as the mayor wants. Pasadena, California, USA can have multiple friendship cities in Mexico. So I just want you to understand that. The presentation tonight is for a sister city, but it was originally supposed to be for a friendship city, and the mayor has the authority to establish friendship cities. Thank you.
Wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Warner, what do you mean it was originally supposed to be?
Originally, all of the cities that were proposed after Kaskabi, Dakar Plateau was supposed to be friendship cities. So that's what we understood in Pasadena Sister Cities. However, Pasadena Sister Cities has had a multiple issues, and so the one in Mexico has been proposed as a sister city, but it was supposed to be proposed as a friendship city. And all future cities were supposed to start off as friendship cities, but Pasadena has only 2 friendship cities right now.
If there's a policy that says that,
It is a policy in sister cities, but not in the city council. Remember, we're all volunteers.
You gotta let me finish, Mr. Warner.
Okay.
If there's a policy of the Pasadena Sister Cities Committee that says that, I'd very much like to see it. The policy that I've seen indicates that there is no such requirement. So I would like to see that if you have it. And I want to ask our staff, are there more Sister Cities presentations? If so, I'll wait. And
No, there's only six of them are sister cities.
I think,
have the flag
I
here.
think Mr. Warner, what position did you hold at the time that was presented that you're referring to? You were the head of the sister?
I was the vice president at the time.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
But Mayor, I think Mr. Warner was also...
Under sister cities, not under Pasadena International Association. I'm sorry, Steve.
You were the Pasadena Sister Cities.
Yes.
But regrettably, I think during your stewardship, the committee fell out of compliance with the state, as I understand.
That part is correct. I am now part of Pasadena International Association.
Got it. So I'll direct my questions to staff when we get to it, but I want to make sure there aren't any other comments for the Sister Cities issue.
Kevin Mardis.
Thank you.
Kevin Mardis.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, thank you.
Not here. Kevin Martisich, not here. Okay, Sharon Braxton, then Jose Maria Rios Espada.
Welcome.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I don't know if you guys are still talking about the fires, if the city has moved on from the fires, but I know I was affected. I was living in a hotel for 6 months, and then I was made to pay rent to my landlord for the 6 months. So I was living in a hotel, and I was also paying rent. And so I know you guys offered rental assistance, and there's a lot of restrictions on those rental assistance programs, or that one. And so I'm just asking if you guys can offer to change those rental restrictions so that those of us who live in Pasadena that were affected by the fires and harassed by our landlords, we can do a little bit something different and get some assistance from Pasadena.
Thank you.
And thank you, Tyrone, for your service. And Miss Brenda, I've talked to you on the phone before, too.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jose Maria Rios Espada, I'm going to give you 2 minutes for the interpretation. Go ahead.
Good evening. I am Rios Espada. I have come to talk about some photos that appeared on the internet approximately 2.5 months to 6 months. They are photos. They're very peculiar.
Específicamente por la persona que aparece con el presidente de los Estados Unidos en esa foto.
They're very peculiar because of the person that appeared in those photos next to the President of the United
La
States.
peculiaridad de estas fotos es que estas personas con las que él se retrató y que a mí me llamaron mucho la atención,
It's very peculiar because the person that appeared on these photos and what called to my attention,
cometieron unos crímenes
they committed some crimes,
terriblemente atroces.
Horrible crimes,
Crímenes que pertenecen, si acaso, al submundo,
crimes that maybe goes out to third world,
a la subhumanidad.
to subhumanity.
Y luego de eso yo me acordé
Later, I remembered
de esta asamblea.
of this assembly.
Supe que habían algunas personas
I found out that there were some people
que se rehusaban a aceptar el corte de relaciones con las compañías comerciales.
They
que se
rejected.
relacionan a su vez con el falsamente Estado llamado Estado de Israel.
They rejected some ties with the companies and made some ties with Israel.
Sí, yo digo esto porque yo ubico a estas personas de la asamblea en ese mismo renglón de estos otros criminales.
And I say this because I recognize the people from the assembly and the crimes.
Trató el presidente.
Señor, su tiempo ya se ha terminado, si puede.
Bueno, pues yo agradecería que me dieran tiempo en otra ocasión para yo explicar todo esto por la importancia que tiene.
Okay, we have to have a translation, Mayor.
I would like more time to talk about this at another time.
Who are you translating? What was the question?
The question, it was a comment, your time is expired.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what I said to the gentleman in Spanish is his time has expired, and he requested more time. ¿Le podemos dar más tiempo al fin de la junta
We can give you more time at the end of the meeting
o la junta que viene el próximo lunes?
or for the next meeting that will take place next Monday.
Gracias.
Very good. I accept it. Thank you. Have a good night.
And then Phyllis Griffin, we called her name, but she did not speak. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Reverend Phyllis Griffin. I am the chair of the Pasadena International Sister Cities Association, chair of the Governance and Ethics Committee. I am standing, first of all, to clarify that the Pasadena International Sister City has never made a move towards becoming a friendship city with Pasadena Sister City Committee. We have always been an affiliation, a proposed affiliation for the Pasadena Sister City affiliation committee. So what you've heard earlier from Mr. Warren, that is untrue. We are not pursuing a friendship city. And that is the understanding that we have, as well as the mayor and the delegation from Guanajuato. So I wanted to make that clear, and also wanted to make clear that it was a very, very successful experience. We should be
Ms.
honored.
Griffith, your time
Ms.
has
Griffith,
expired.
your time has expired, Ms. Griffith.
Thank you all for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you. That completes public comment on matters not on the agenda.
Okay.
So Mayor, I just wanted to ask staff if you have any update about the sister cities situation. My understanding is the PSSC was found by the Attorney General and the Secretary of State to not be properly compliant or registered to conduct any business. And then it seems like these two new groups have sort of sprouted.
Mr. Madison, this matter is not agendized.
I mean, there can be a brief response
Okay.
to the speaker's comments.
Thank you.
I don't know that staff has all the answers to your questions.
Yeah, and if you want to come back, that's fine, but I think I'm concerned that what I've been hearing, that we don't have a properly established sister cities group. And the Attorney General indicated that when that's the case, anyone else can step into their shoes, and I don't know if that's what's going on. Obviously, I'd be concerned if it's the same folks who first brought the prior committee into non-compliance, if they're trying to now present a new group. I just think we need some guidance here because, we're going to hurt our standing in the sister cities community. I don't know who's managing the sister cities relationships presently. Don't know what's happening with the request, which I support, to have a sister city in Latin America. We were told that was coming to the council in December. Doesn't seem like that is, unless tonight that's what was being presented and we can act on it. So I'd appreciate very much an update about all those things. Thank you.
And Councilmember, we'll need to pull that information together and return.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that completes public comment for matters not on the agenda. Now, turning to the agenda, I think there was a request to hold we have public comment for item 2.
Item 5.
And item 5, so we'll hold item 2 and 5 from a sweep motion. Is there a sweep motion on the remainder of the agenda?
So moved.
Oh, sorry.
Moved by Mr. Lyons, seconded by Mr. Hampton. Are there any objections? Seeing none, those matters are approved. As to item 2, public comment.
The public comment for item 2, we have 3 speaker cards: Ted Smith, Millie, and Sonia Burnt. And Millie and Sonia are virtual. So 2 minutes.
Mr. Smith, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am a very, very strong, I'm a resident for Pasadena, been living in Pasadena for more than 32 years. I'm a very strong supporter of item number 2. I would love to see that process go forward, so please put that on records, that I as an individual want to see that done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Item 5?
No, Millie for item 2.
Oh, okay. Millie?
She's virtual. Okay. She's not, you sure? So we'll go to Sonia Burnt.
Ms. Burnt, welcome.
She is virtual. She in?
How long I'm being given?
Hi, you have 2 minutes, Sonia. I'll ring a bell when you have 30 seconds left. Go ahead.
Good evening. Transparency for the community is lacking on this agenda item. I only know from listening to the November 25th Finance Committee meeting that PPD represented that none of the entire cost of the helicopters and service contracts will be paid from the general fund. The staff report states that the down payment will come from the asset forfeiture fund. PPD will then arrange lease financing. Staff will later return to the council for authorization to enter the lease financing and request a budget amendment only for the Asset Forfeiture Fund and the Foothill Air Support Team Fund for the debt service payments. The subject of this enormous expense has been blowing up all over social media before tonight. Had the city made clear to our community that zero money will come from the general fund, that could have assuaged community fear and anger, especially given the dire financial circumstances facing the city. So we will be watching to make sure the city does not eventually use any money from the general fund or reserves for this expense, like what happened when the city used $21.5 million from the general fund and reserves to make the Rose Bowl's debt service payments a few years ago. One other point, the Asset Forfeiture Fund must be used for law enforcement purposes. What council deliberation is had to determine how the funds in this restricted fund are to be spent? The entire city council needs to debate and decide priorities for spending those funds, such as on community crime prevention, violence interrupters, the HOPE team, other equipment, etc. PPD does not have the authority to make those decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. We were unable to find a Millie. There was a Melanie, and maybe we'll ask if Melanie is, maybe it was a misspelling. You want to bring her in? Ma'am, are you waiting to speak on items 2 and 5? She's muted. Okay. Then we'll count it as a no-show. All right, that completes public comment on the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you. Next,
there's Councilmember Rivas and Vice Mayor Rivas and Councilmember Hampton.
Ms. Rivas?
Two very quick questions that I already asked the department, but I think they're important to get on the record for the council and the public. So I don't know who from the department. Good evening. So from reading the staff report, I was under the impression that we're selling one helicopter, buying 2 for a net increase of 1, and that the new total would be 6. And my question was, is that the new size intended to be the new size of our fleet moving forward, which would be an increase? And it's my understanding that that's not the case. So if you could just explain, I guess, our overall fleet size and what the plans are.
Lieutenant Bradley May, thank you for the question, ma'am. No, the fleet size, we're going from 5 to 4.
Right.
And like you mentioned in the report, we're selling the MD-500 as part of the process. That's the first helicopter we're going to sell. That's going to recoup some of the funds for this project. It takes 18 months to receive, roughly 18 months, somewhere in that time frame to receive the helicopters. So during that process, we need to keep the other helicopters to keep us functional for our mission. After that, then we'll reduce the military surplus aircraft and go down to 4.
Okay, so the new size of the fleet, once all these processes are complete, will be 4.
Yes.
Got it, which is a decrease.
Absolutely.
Okay, got it. And then lastly, my other question was, will the FAST and mutual aid cities be contributing for the cost of these helicopters in some way, since they do benefit from the services we provide with those helicopters?
Yes, and I can start and answer that if I need help. Fiscal Administrator Kimberly Siemens here, but yes, to answer your question, for the last 10 years, 40,000, they've contributed each year, those Foothill Air Support Team cities, towards fleet replacement alone. In addition, they do technology, training, and also some of the technology upgrades training. What was the last one?
Helicopter purchase.
Insurance. They pay part of the insurance. So with all that combined, they do contribute.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for clarifying that. I think that was all great extra info to have, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hampton?
Oh, I could follow after Mr. Cole. I'm sure he has maybe similar questions.
Just a brief comment. At Finance Committee, we had an extensive discussion about this, and one thing that I do think we agreed, I believe that we will take up asset forfeiture prioritization in the budget process. I don't think that's happened in the past, at least that's my understanding. I wasn't here for that, but it can only be used for legitimate law enforcement policies, but the council should have input into what those priorities are.
Thank you. I appreciate you making those comments. I was going to piggyback off of that and make similar ones, so I don't have to ask them the same questions. I'm going to ask you a question because it is something that always comes up. What could asset forfeiture funds be used for?
Kimberly Seaman, Management Analyst 5 for the Police Department. It can be used per the Department of Justice Equitable Sharing Guide. It can be used for law enforcement use only.
So if I wanted to use it to repave streets?
No.
Because law enforcement drives on the streets, could I do that?
No, you cannot.
Could I ask you to build a basketball court because law enforcement could utilize it for community services, parks and recreation type things?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to ask those questions because these are some of the comments that come up when you see dollar amounts that are this large. And what can we use it for and why are we using it for law enforcement? One thing, as the council member that represents the area where the heliport is, actually where the heliport is, I hear from my neighbors regularly about the sound and how loud the helicopters are. And our helicopters are loud because they're basically Volkswagens in the sky.
Let's know.
I'm saying the mode. I mean, it's just they're very loud. But I mean, and the newer helicopters are going to be much quieter.
Yes, sir. The technology, as in the report, swept tip technology for the main rotor blades. So there's a technology within that. There's also technology in the performance of the engine. So all those things have been considered. There are stringent rules that the helicopters come under in testing, and they're quieter.
And how old are the helicopters that we have now?
The military surplus, 1971, 1971, and 1972.
Okay, and so they're loud just because they're loud.
Older technology.
Now, the newer helicopters can fly higher, at higher altitudes, or?
Because of the mission suite, the equipment that's going to go on them, the police equipment, they can fly higher and do the same job that the other
Okay,
helicopters.
and with a higher altitude, that means that there will be less noise that we could hear typically on the ground level.
The noise signature at higher altitudes is definitely less.
And so the flight pattern going over the Arroyo, not over the residential homes, it will remain the same even though we have a new aircraft. Once we get the new aircraft, that can fly higher.
That's a safety thing, but yes, the pattern when takeoff and landing are due to safety. and
Just
those
want to
remain
make
the
sure
same.
those are not changing. And then the other question that always comes up is why helicopters and not drones?
Well, there's several reasons. It depends on the mission. I think it's a good opportunity once to help answer the question because of some of the mission suites we use, transporting people. We can't do that. We can't transport other officers to get to different positions. We can't do that in a drone. Also, we have 3 airports in the area we operate in. So we have Burbank, we have El Monte, we have Laverne. So to work in those airports with drones, it's really not possible to do that in a situation. If it's static, drones are great. The battery life, 20, 30 minutes. Helicopter has a 3.5-hour endurance. So that's why it's much better to have that command and control, officers up in the air, seeing and doing that in a helicopter.
And what is our coverage area? We cover from, well, you could answer the question. I know the answer, but.
So the Foothill Air Support Team, you want to know the cities that we actually cover. We cover Pasadena, obviously. Then we have, as a mutual aid agreement, Tri-City Agreement, Glendale and Burbank. And then the fast cities that we operate in, Sierra Madre, San Marino. I want to get them all. Arcadia, Azusa, Glendora, Irwindale, Monrovia, San Marino, Sierra Madre, and South Pass. So we have a JPA, Joint Powers Authority, with those cities.
Perfect. Those are my questions. This is something I've been asking for some time and advocating for, and I'm happy to support this motion, and I'll make the motion to move approval of 2 new helicopters. How long will it take to get these helicopters, by the way?
So the process is 18 months. We hope to get it sooner, but that's the assembly line. That's what we start from scratch, and we order it, and that's hopefully, it'll be less than 18 months, hopefully, but definitely 18 months.
Perfect. Thank you. I know the neighbors will be pleased by the less than decibel around the heliport. So I'm very grateful for this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lieutenant, Sergeant, and Siemens. The whole crew is here. And so thank you for your efforts, your work.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
2 and 5.
I'd like to make a motion, on 2 and 5.
Okay, 2 and 5. Been moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Seeing none, matters approved. 2 and 5 are approved.
That completes consent.
That completes the consent calendar and brings us to old business.
Item 8 actually is a public hearing, I believe, Mayor.
Oh, Chief, I didn't realize you were here.
Mayor, Mayor, I have an obligation that I have to be at, and I was wondering if it's okay with my council colleagues that we move the item of creating a housing committee, number 9, up.
That should be fairly quick.
We do have some speaker cards on item 9, but yes.
Okay, why don't we move that up and take that up now? Let's turn to, do we need a presentation?
There isn't.
Okay.
You should say what it is.
So this is the approval of the ad hoc committee's recommendation to create a new city council standing committee on planning, housing, and homelessness. There's an agenda report presented by the mayor.
And, you know, again, the intent for the public's knowledge is to allow EdTech to focus on economic development, particularly as we're going into what could be rough economic times across the country and in the region and the city, and have a focus on the issue of planning, homelessness, be very, very focused. And so I'll be appointing a committee subsequent to this, the creation of this committee. More work for all of you. But I think very worthy work. Okay.
In the queue is Vice Mayor Rivas, Councilmember Jones, and Councilmember Madison.
Ms. Rivas?
I just had one question for you, Mayor, the ad hoc. As it pertains to transportation planning, is the idea for this new committee is to deal with future transportation plans as opposed to existing operational needs? That'll say with MSC, is that the rough division of labor? Okay. I'm seeing nods, yes, so sounds good.
Yeah, and the staff is still, you know, looking at the which subject matter is appropriate for both, and so we'll come back with a report on that as well.
Great.
I think the
Thank
reference to transportation is primarily the land use dimensions of transportation.
Okay, got it. That's helpful to understand. Thank you.
Yeah, associated with the planning function. Okay.
Mayor, if I...
Mr. Jones?
Yeah, thank you. First, thanks to the ad hoc committee. I know Councilmember Hampton's brought this up numerous of times since I've been on the council, and so has Councilmembers Cole and Lyon. I just had a quick question. So would functions such as Port and Hope now start to provide presentations and report directly to this committee, or would that still be handled by public safety?
It depends. You know, it may be both, not exclusive one or the other, because there's crossover. And I think it's an issue by issue basis, but I think for the purpose of addressing homelessness as an issue, you know, Port would, and Hope would certainly provide great insight. On the public safety component, there may be times when public safety committee is visited.
And just for clarification, the same item wouldn't go to both committees?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's...
So much like there's, you know, interplay and crossover currently between Finance Committee when we're addressing issues that normally would go to EdTech, but because there's a contract or an expenditure, it goes to Finance as opposed to EdTech. The staff will have to guide us. Okay. Okay. Mr. Madison, followed by Mr. Hampton.
Thanks, Mayor. So I'm a little confused about the mandate. The staff report says the committee shall review land use, transportation, planning, housing, and homelessness issues, as well as other related matters which the committee chair, city council, or city council appointees determines are within the scope of the committee's review. this sounds like that famous committee in Congress that Dingell used to chair. Is it supposed to be about homelessness? Because if so, I think we should say that more clearly.
That language is the same for all the committees, Mr. Madison.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you have a comment, Mr. Cole?
That language is boilerplate in every one of them. The language that's permissive, the Finance Committee, Public Safety, all have that language. Other topics as...
But they follow a specific mandate, and this doesn't have the specific mandate.
What do you mean?
Well, I just said what I mean.
Well, they all have, this essentially mirrors, it has a series of topics, just as Ed Tech has a series of topics, Public Safety has a series of topics, MSC has a series of topics, and then it has a phrase that says, and the same phrase is repeated in each of the...
Right, but my point in pointing out the phrase at the end wasn't that's problematic in and of itself. It's that it's so circular: land use, transportation, public safety, planning, homeless. But my understanding was this was targeting homelessness. So I just suggest that the committee have a clear mandate that as respects homelessness, all of those and certainly others may come into play.
It does. It has, as Mr. Cole points out, that's sort of preamble language in all the committees. And the reason, at least at first stroke, that those subjects are included is because of the interplay and the connection between homelessness, housing policy, planning policy. And so that's the rationale. So, I was convinced to head in this direction when I think it was Mr. Lyon called me and said, we just spent, at Ed Tech, the bulk of the meeting talking about these issues, planning, homelessness, and how they, housing, transportation associated with the planning. And so Ed Tech was spending the bulk of its time on those issues and not getting enough time on economic development. And so the intent is to carve out those issues, bring them to this committee, and allow Ed Tech to focus on technology and economic development.
Yeah, again, I'm still confused because it says the committee shall review land use and transportation planning in any and all contexts. So general plan, specific plan, zoning.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a homelessness committee.
Yes, it is.
Planning, housing, and homelessness.
Yeah.
So it's planning, housing, transportation, public safety, and homelessness.
No, if your question is it strictly and only homelessness, the answer is no, because we recognize the interplay between planning, transportation, housing, all of those issues as it relates to homelessness. So we're trying to create, I guess the intent is to create a committee that can address all of those subjects together and allow Ed Tech to focus.
Well, I'm fine with that if it's clear up front that it's addressing homelessness.
Yes.
Including housing, transportation, the full gamut of issues that impact homelessness. But I'm just afraid that
planning.
I don't mean to cut you off, but how about we just move that part of it to the top and then leave the rest?
So start with homelessness?
So it says housing and homelessness first and then the rest.
Yeah, I think it needs something like that so that it's clear that it's not just any and all of these things in the abstract.
It is, though. It's planning issues will go to this committee as opposed to Ed Tech. Transportation issues will go to this committee as opposed to Ed Tech. So it is all of those things.
Transportation goes to MSC.
I'm sorry, yeah. And as it relates to planning, though, will also go to land use issue. Yeah. Right. Not MSC, it goes to Ed Tech. I'm sorry, now it will go to this committee.
Okay, and then I do have some questions just about, I mean, I understood it to be addressing homelessness, so it sounds like that's part of it, but not the entire emphasis. And, yeah, I thought we would be more focused on the problems of homelessness and housing affordability, for example. Like if that were the name of it, I'd be fine with it, but to have a new committee, which, I mean, I'm not, when we have to change the date of a committee, we don't have a room to meet in. So adding a whole new council committee is going to create some real challenges, I think, logistically. And I think the staff should address that in due course of how are we going to, the city clerk and I have had conversations about new space to have a public meeting where, like the chamber, where we would expect there to be significant public comment, even though it's not a council meeting. Obviously, the convention center comes to mind. Maybe there are other places, but it sounds like it's just one more committee, but it could really impact that, where it would take place. And would it be 4 members or 3, Mayor?
That I don't know yet, and it's going to depend on, availability of members.
Well, it's me and 2 others.
Yeah, and I certainly hope it's not a substitute for, forming a committee can be a substitute for actually doing something. And I certainly hope that's not the case. I mean, for example, talking about homelessness, we had an issue recently where I wasn't able to attend, that on the parking for homeless across the street at the church. I'd like to see that come back. I've talked to the city attorney about it. I hope that'll happen. But I think we could be subject to criticism that we're forming a committee as a fig leaf for our failure to take more substantial action, which I hope is not the case.
I think the advocates have pressed for this for quite some time. So.
As they have things like the safe parking program across the street. And so I look forward to having that come back with a full council, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Lyon?
Mr. Hampton was ahead of me. If you
I
want me
was
to go.
going to say, I'd just like to motion to move approval with adding the verbiage of housing and homelessness at the top.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
And
So it would be Housing, Homelessness, and Planning Committee? Currently, it's proposed as Planning, Housing, and Homelessness.
yeah,
So it'd be Housing, Homelessness, and Planning? Or would it be Homelessness, Housing, and Planning?
I think it's housing, homelessness, and planning.
Okay.
let's hope we get people who are willing to be appointed and attend the meetings. Yeah. The assistant city manager reminds me that we did talk about the meeting time, and it will be alternate Mondays when finance committee is not scheduled. So before the council meeting. Unless, again, the committee, that's the thinking. But if, the committee's always free to set its own times, schedule. Okay. Mr.
You done?
Mr. Hampton made a motion, is that right?
Yeah.
Did anyone second it? Because
Okay.
Mr. Lyon?
So, yeah, very briefly, just we talked specifically when we, in the ad hoc and after, about location and timing. We're also, there will be a meeting space in the permit center, in the Hale building, in a couple of months. I think that'll be done, and it has streaming capability. And the thinking, I think, is that we'll clear up the council chamber for council meetings first, because we keep having, once again, in the Ed Tech meeting, we keep having this issue of bumping up against the design commission. So we're looking at moving that out so we can have our meeting. But the issue was that the mayor was correct that I reached out to him, but that was maybe the 5th meeting in a row where we had actually not heard the economic development issues, which were substantial because we had big planning stuff to deal with in the last year. Whether we were going to waive the fees around the fire was a big conversation that went several meetings. Recently, we had a long conversation about whether to move the point-in-time count, the annual homeless count, to every other year instead of every year. That was a long discussion. And, you know, these are important issues, and economic development and technology are also hugely important issues at this moment, especially in our city. And so it felt like they needed their own time and space. I don't know that I would have added transportation into the description, but there is definitely a whole transportation piece that we do on EdTech and a whole transportation piece that we do on MSC. So it would be my expectation that would, you know, the MSC piece would remain the same, and what has been the EdTech piece will get broken off for this committee. But it is all of them. It's not just homelessness, but that's clearly a big emphasis.
And much like finance, you know, handles some issues when it's finance related, you know, on transportation, when it's infrastructure, public works implementation, then it goes there to MSC. When it's planning related questions involving transportation, then it'll come to this committee.
And that's what the language says. It says land use and transportation planning.
Correct.
And Mayor, I would offer up as well the, well, I can't offer it up, but JRCC and Robinson Park have the capabilities to host meetings and live stream as well. Or,
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, good point. I forgot the live stream. Yeah. Okay.
Do we live stream all of our committee meetings?
All the committee meetings that happen in here, yes.
Oh, that happened here, okay.
And we record it.
Okay, public comment.
For item 9, we have 4, and maybe not all here, but Jacob Pierce, are you here?
Mr. Pierce?
Okay, followed by Mike Canavan, then Bert Newton, and then Sonia Burnt.
Hi, Jacob Pierce.
2 minutes, by the way. Go ahead.
Great. I'll keep it brief. Jacob Pierce, Policy Associate for Abundant Housing LA. Just wanted to express support for standing up this new committee, and we look forward to the recommendations.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Newton?
Mr. Newton. No, Mike Canavan, then Bert Newton, then Sonia Burnt. Sorry.
Oh, then let him go for it.
Yeah, Bert, you're here, so go ahead.
Yeah, speaking for making housing community happen, we support this. I'm also a little skeptical of creating committees if it just creates another step, but it sounds like this is being, the rationale is good. The questions I had, though, are what happens to the things that EdTech is now handling that are housing related? There are some items like the inclusionary housing ordinance or policy. Does that now go, because EdTech already started on it, does that now go over to the new committee? And then I guess maybe a lot of people may have misunderstood this, but we don't know who's going to be on the new committee, right? Because the staff report mentioned four of the council members, but I guess that's just the 4 that met to talk about it. But we don't actually know who's going to be on the new committee. Is that correct?
No, I'll be soliciting volunteers.
Volunteer, okay.
Yeah.
But we don't know now.
And then I'll appoint, no.
Okay.
Then I'll appoint.
All right. And the stuff that is housing related, the EdTech is already handling, does that immediately go to the new committee?
So if we've already started it, we can't, according to the city attorney just a minute ago, we wouldn't be able to take it to another committee because one committee has already seen it. So we'd have to finish out the work that we've already started. But for the most part, and I don't think the inclusionary housing ordinance even got presented to us. It was on an agenda. We never.
There was a presentation.
There was a presentation. Thank you for reminding me.
It's informational, though. There was no decision.
It was informational,
It was
yes.
one of several items that we wanted to look
Okay.
further into, so we'll look
We'd
to-
have to take a look
Yeah.
at specifics and consider on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I mean, informational, I would imagine. But let's see.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mike Canavan and then Sonia Burnt. They're participating virtually.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'll be brief as well. I just want to say I'm glad to see this committee is being considered. I think for a long time, there's been a conspicuous gap in community coverage of one of the more important issues and challenges facing Pasadena. So creating this will not only allow City Council to give this crisis in housing and homelessness the time and thought it deserves, but it will, as mentioned, free up other committees, namely Ed Tech, to focus on their core responsibilities. So I thank you for this. I hope the committee can work constructively with the state, which has already made significant efforts legislatively in the area of accelerating housing and shelter development. And I look forward to seeing the policies coming out of this group. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sonia Burnt.
Ms. Byrne? Welcome. Ms. Byrne?
I'd like to thank the ad hoc committee for recommending the creation of a new city council standing committee on planning, housing, and homelessness. The Ed Tech committee has a whole host of issues to address and cannot give the urgent attention needed to the critical issues of homelessness and affordable housing. Moreover, the subject of homelessness isn't even mentioned in the municipal code in the scope of work establishing the Ed Tech committee. As noted in the staff report, the importance of these subjects to our community requires a separate committee devoted to those subject areas. Thank you.
Thank you. That completes public comment on this item.
Thank you. Okay.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ad hoc committee recommendation.
Okay. Motion and a second.
With the amendment to make it Housing, Homelessness, and Planning Committee.
Yeah, I'd be more comfortable if you were amenable to something like housing affordability and homelessness. Obviously, planning is part of that, and maybe it deserves its own billing in that too. But I think the community is asking us to address housing affordability and homelessness. And I'm perfectly fine, to be clear, with planning things going through that committee, not Ed Tech, but that's just one council member's view.
Mr. Cole, Mr. Lyon, I think it's, well, I've stated the rationale, and I think the ad hoc committee did as well. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation, and roll call.
Sorry.
This is an important moment, so thank you to my colleagues who participated on the ad hoc as well.
Thank you, Mayor.
Also want to thank all the advocates, including making housing happen. Jill Shook, early on when Terry Tornick was the mayor, was always on this every day, her and Anthony. So I'll just also give them big thanks.
Yeah, all of the advocates.
All of the advocates, I'm sorry.
And we did receive 3 letters for items 9 and 10, the related ordinance, in support of the staff recommendation advocating for the city's various committees mandates to be, one letter was advocating for the city's various committees mandates to be clarified, and 1 letter on item 10 in support of the ordinance and providing comments on the matter. So all of those letters were posted online, distributed to the council, and part of the items, part of the record for each of the items.
And as long as we're giving kudos, thank you again to the ad hoc committee, and we should include Ms. Burton there, who's probably attended and more of council meetings related to this issue and press for this committee. So,
do you need a motion on the ordinance?
I was going to do the first piece, which is the staff report, and then, or the ad hoc committee report, and then get to the ordinance for first reading.
To the what?
The ad hoc committee report, item 9.
This is a staff
we
report
haven't voted yet?
recommendation.
We haven't voted on that.
Okay. I don't think there are objections, are there?
no, why don't we just do a roll call?
Roll call, Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Hampton?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Lyon?
Yes.
Councilmember Madison?
Yes.
Councilmember Masuda?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rivas?
Yes.
Mayor Gordo?
Yes.
The
Thank you.
motion is unanimously approved.
Okay.
to
And on the
first-
ordinance?
First reading of the ordinance.
And then I would note the changes, because they'll need to be read into the record since it's on for first reading. So in the title,
Yes, I'll do that. This is an ordinance of the City of Pasadena amending Title II, Organization and Administration, Chapter 2.05, City Council,
Section 2.05.170 of the Pasadena Municipal Code regarding the Council Economic Development and Technology Committee, and adding Section 2.05.205 to Chapter 2.05 of the Pasadena Municipal Code to create the Council Housing, Homelessness, and Planning Committee.
I'll offer it.
And then, once that's offered, I'll just read the other changes to make sure the city clerk has them.
Offered by Mr. Lyon. Roll call.
One second.
Well, I'm going to
Oh.
just read where they're changed.
I see.
For the record. In section 2 of the ordinance, under 2.05.205, the heading would say Council Housing, Homelessness, and Planning Committee. Paragraph A would change the reference to Planning, Housing, and Homelessness to the Housing, Homelessness, and Planning Committee. Under A1, the reference to, it would read, review matters which relate to housing and homelessness, land use and transportation planning issues, as well as other related matters which the committee chair, city council, or city council appointees determine are within the scope of the committee's review. Under paragraph 2, the next paragraph, be a liaison with citizen advisory bodies which deal with housing, homelessness, and planning issues, including the Planning, Human Services, and Transportation Advisory Commissions. Under paragraph B, the next section, it would read, the first sentence would read, the Housing, Homelessness, and Planning Committee shall be composed of up to 4 members of the City Council appointed by the mayor. Paragraph C, the first sentence would read, the Housing, Homelessness, and Planning Committee shall, at its first meeting and from time to time thereafter, establish a regular meeting schedule, including time and place, and may hold such other meetings as it deems necessary or advisable. Paragraph D, that sentence would read, the Housing, Homelessness, and Planning Committee shall have minutes maintained of its meetings. And those are the changes.
Thank you.
I'm still willing to offer it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lyon.
This is the Housing,
Okay,
Homelessness,
now-
and Planning Committee right here. The
Yeah.
second one, there was a first one, and then there was a second one.
We're okay?
Did you get that one? No. Okay.
One other change?
One other change is 2.05.205A. The last sentence will read, the Housing, Homelessness, and Planning Committee shall. That was another change that was needed. Okay, with those changes as offered by Councilmember Lyon, Councilmember Cole to conduct first reading? Yes. Councilmember Hampton?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Lyon?
Yes.
Councilmember Madison?
Yes.
Councilmember Masuda?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rivas?
Yes.
Mayor Gordo?
Yes.
The ordinance is unanimously introduced for first reading. Mayor,
Okay.
did you want to do the other ordinance quickly, because there's staff here?
Again, congratulations and thank you to all.
So item 11, this is an ordinance of the City of Pasadena amending Title 10, Chapter 10.46, Sections 10.46.010, 10.46.020, 10.46.050, 10.46.060, 10.46.080, 10.46.090, and 10.46.120 of the Pasadena Municipal Code regarding the police towing franchise system. There was a scrivener's error on the agenda title, but the ordinance was correct. 10.46.020 was inadvertently made 10 on the agenda, but we've fixed that. And with that, do we have?
I'll offer it.
Thank you, Mr. Hampton. And there's no speaker cards for that, and there's. To conduct first reading, Councilmember Cole? Yes. Councilmember Hampton?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Lyon?
Yes.
Councilmember Madison?
Yes.
Councilmember Masuda?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rivas?
Yes.
Mayor Gordo?
Yes.
The ordinance is unanimously conducted first reading.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
With that,
we're gonna go back to item 8, the public hearing.
yeah,
Okay. This was a public hearing that was continued from November 24th. This is the time and place for the public hearing on the zoning code amendments to implement objective design standards for high-density residential development. The city clerk's office received 2 letters in support of the proposed objective design standards and providing comments on the matter, and 6 letters advocating for the city council to strengthen the proposed objective design standards to provide flexibility for builders. Those letters were posted online, distributed to the council, are made part of the record for this public hearing. And we have, for item 8, 5 speaker cards, Mayor. And there's members of the council.
so,
Start with the council.
yeah, why don't we start with the council?
Vice Mayor Rivas.
Ms. Rivas, followed
Thank
by
you,
Mr.
Mayor.
Jones.
Just very briefly, as you all probably recall, I recused myself last time in abundance of caution, and since then, the city attorney has looked into it, and I learned that I don't have to recuse myself, so I will be participating this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, same. I recused myself last time out of an abundance of caution, and the city attorney has looked into it, and I do not have to recuse myself this time.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to have you back.
And Mr. Mayor, if I might, I spoke out at the last time expressing both frustration and puzzlement at the decision. The city attorney quite appropriately pointed out that she wasn't ruling on the merits. She was simply pointing out that this had come up late and it deserved, for your protection and the city's, to make sure that we were within the law. And I did not at all mean to cast any aspersions on her judgment. What my frustration was with an interpretation, should it be made, of our state law that would, in this case, preclude council members from participating in something that would have little or no impact on their financial holdings. So I want to apologize to the city attorney for any unintended assumptions that I was critical of her, because that was not at all on my mind. I was expressing a longstanding frustration with tortured interpretations of the law, and that was my assumptions, and I think the city attorney did the right thing, which was to take it under consideration, which is why we're talking today. So thank you, Michelle, for your understanding.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cole. Ms. Harvey-Williams?
Mayor, today we have Jennifer Page, our Director of Planning and Community Development, and I believe she's going to have a presentation, but she's going to introduce our Principal Planner, Martin Potter, who will be doing that. So I will turn it over to Jennifer for the presentation.
Thank you. Martin Potter, Principal Planner, will make the presentation. I think he started it last time and got a bit through it, so he'll maybe get through the whole thing tonight. And we also have Kevin Johnson, Principal Planner, with our design section, who both worked really hard on this. This has been an effort, as I think I stated last time, almost 3 years in the making, so we're excited to bring it forward tonight and available to answer questions after the presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Martin Potter, Principal Planner. So to start with some background and provide some context, Senate Bill 330, which is the Housing Crisis Act of 2019, specified that local jurisdictions cannot impose or enforce new design standards established after January 1st, 2020 for multifamily and residential and mixed-use projects, unless those standards are objective in nature. And the bill went on to define what objective means, which is that it involves no personal or subjective judgment by a public official, and is uniformly verifiable by reference to external and uniform benchmarks or criterion that are available and knowable both to development applicants or proponents as well as public officials. Following up on that, in 2022 was Assembly Bill 2334, which amended state density bonus law and clarified that when a range of densities are permitted, the base density is the maximum number that's allowed by the specific zoning range, a specific plan, or a land use element of the general plan that's applicable to the project. So with both of those in mind, on December 5th, 2022, the City Council directed staff to study objective design standards, which would be related to higher density residential and mixed-use developments and ensure compliance with state law. The zoning code currently includes a variety of standards that are objective. These include the City of Gardens standards, which are applicable to projects up to 48 dwelling units per acre. Urban housing development standards, which are for projects above 48 dwelling units per acre. Mixed-use projects standards, which are projects that have residential and commercial components together, as well as our recently adopted specific plan areas. These include new objective design standards related to such things as street wall height, building modulation, building step backs, how a building responds to historic buildings, et cetera. So tonight, the city is considering additional objective standards for new residential and mixed-use projects. These would be for above 48 dwelling units per acre only, and these occur primarily within our specific plan areas. The city also has a large number of design guideline documents. As I mentioned earlier, guidelines that have been adopted prior to January 1st, 2020 would still be applicable. So we have the city's design guidelines for neighborhood, commercial, and multifamily districts. We have citywide design principles, and our specific plans all have a variety of design guidelines that are built into them. This map shows the general plan land use diagram, and it shows in the orange striped and darker brown striped areas. These are our medium mixed use and high mixed use areas. The black boundaries around certain areas are our specific plans. So you can see that the majority of these areas are contained within our specific plans. There's just a couple of areas here that are outlined in red, which are outside of specific plans, but adjacent to them. There have been 10 study sessions and hearings with our Planning Commission and Design Commission starting in January of 2023. That was an initial study session with the Planning Commission, and we received some direction to develop a walking tour and look at some sites on the ground. That walking tour occurred in March of that year. And with the Planning Commission and the public, we walked 10 different sites and looked at different architectural elements and design. Throughout the process, the direction was refined, and we received additional direction to prepare concise standards, ensure design consistency. We had some discussions related to sustainability standards, and neighborhood context. And in overall, to ensure that the proposed standards that we come up with are not overly burdensome or cumbersome to applicants. In October of this year, we had a meeting with the Planning Commission where we received a recommendation. At that October 8th meeting, the Planning Commission directed staff to develop standards that would result in simple and elegant buildings. So to do that, staff compared and contrasted different design features of traditional buildings found throughout Pasadena as well as modern buildings, typically between 4 and 8 stories. And this was done to identify the different features that would achieve this goal. And as a result of that review, staff came up with 2 different building forms, Type 1, which had previously been referred to as simple form standards, and Type 2, which had previously been referred to as articulated form standards. And this, again, was based on traditional building designs and contemporary examples of those which emulate traditional styles, as well as comments received from the workshops that we had with the Planning Commission and Design Commission. And with all of that, we developed the proposed standards. And again, on October 8th, the Planning Commission considered these amendments and recommended that the council approve the amendments as presented by staff with a couple of changes. One, to refine the terms simple form and articulated form, which are now called Type 1 and Type 2. To include a range of permitted colors. To require balconies on street-facing facades to project no more than 2 feet from a facade, have opaque railings, and utilize high-quality materials. And lastly, to allow for an alternate design review process on sites that are above 2 acres in size. And staff is supportive of these recommendations. So to briefly walk through the different Type 1 and Type 2 standards, Type 1 is intended to result in simple box massing forms, which would have defined standards for a base, a middle, and a top, as well as require flat roofs with parapets, with some exceptions. There would be facade break requirements for when a building facade exceeds a specified length. The Type 1 standards would establish a solid to void ratio for windows and openings, and window distribution standards, which are intended to result in traditional window proportions. The type 1 standards include balcony standards on street-facing facades. There would be standards for vehicle entry and exit openings and alignment of those openings on the facade, and building craftsmanship elements and wall material and color standards. Type 2 is similar. It would also require simple box massing. However, it would also require articulated building elements. These could include towers or uncovered stairs or terraces or different changes in building height. Type 2 also allows a greater variety of roof forms. These could include sloped roofs, flat, or a combination thereof. The base, middle, and top standards would be similar to the Type 1, with some requirements for arched openings, roof materials, and design. Type 2 does have a higher proportion of solid wall area and some specific wall materials, but it does not require building facade breaks or windows to be aligned in the same way that Type 1 would. And Type 2 also has some unique building craftsmanship element requirements, including terracotta details and metal balconies. There are also sustainability standards proposed, which would include awnings, canopies, overhangs, fins, and covered balconies along east, west, and south-facing frontages, which are intended to provide shade for pedestrians and reduce solar heat gain. And the difference between the two types here is that Type 2 standards would not allow the fins or the canopies. Optionally, rooftop gardens could be provided as a percentage of the roof area or additional tree canopy within required setbacks or common open space. This may count towards an existing common open space requirement at a rate of 1.5 to 1. So just for example, if somebody provided a 1,000 square foot rooftop garden, that would count as 1,500 square feet of common open space. And if outside of a specific plan, the projects would be required to utilize the Central District specific plan's tree canopy requirements, and trees would have to be selected from the city's protected and native species list. In terms of the design review process for these projects, the current process involves 3 steps. Projects go through preliminary consultation, the concept design review, and then final design review. In the proposed process on sites below 2 acres in size, projects would have to comply with the objective design standards and go through the preliminary consultation and consolidated design review process. So it's a 2-step design review process. On sites of 2 acres or more, applicants may choose to utilize objective design standards and the streamlined 2-step design review process, or they may forego the objective design standards and follow the existing 3-step design review process and still be subject to all of the standards of the base zone and design guidelines. And again, as a reminder, design guidelines adopted before January 1st, 2020 continue to apply to projects. If approved, staff will also develop an illustrated checklist to supplement the codified development standards and help visually demonstrate the standards and how they're applied. This checklist would be intended to assist applicants, the public, and staff in determining compliance with all objective design standard requirements. Staff recommends that the City Council find that the proposed zoning code amendment is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15061B3, the common sense exemption, where it can be seen with certainty that there is no possibility that the activity in question may have a significant effect on the environment. To make the findings for approval for the zoning code text amendment and direct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance for the zoning code amendment within 90 days, consistent with the provisions set forth in the agenda. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments, starting with Ms. Rivas.
Sorry, that's from before.
Oh, okay. Mr. Cole.
Mr. Mayor, I'll take 5 minutes because both Mr. Lyon and I were at the beginning of this process as planning commissioners. And what the excellent staff report does not address is why are we doing this? And I think that's important to put on the record for 2 reasons. One, we have seen in the last several years too many ugly, out-of-character buildings that really do not enhance the street character. And I'm not talking primarily about aesthetics. I'm talking about the ground floor with blank walls, with anti-pedestrian features rather than pedestrian features that really create a neighborhood of high-density housing. People who live in higher density housing walk their dogs They go outside with their kids. They need open space. They need trees and safe lighting on their streets. And those are the elements that really make a neighborhood. And we've skimped on those in many cases. We have some beautiful new developments, and we have some really ugly ones. And these are meant to make sure that everybody at least meets the standard of fitting into Los Angeles, or to Pasadena, in the same way that the City of Gardens did for Pasadena 30 years ago, and it's been a very successful model. So that's the rationale for what we're doing tonight, and I'm extremely pleased at two things. One, the work of our staff. We started with a consultant. They were phenomenal consultants, but they were at loggerheads about an approach with the staff, and so that created some delay. But when we turned it over ultimately to the staff who've been doing this work and who know Pasadena and who know our standards, they've done just a terrific job. And I think that's critically important for us to recognize when we are capable of doing such outstanding work by our own in-house staff. And the second is, I think the part of the reason we had some conflict with the consultant is because in many ways, the approach that we're going partway toward tonight is a form-based code. And the illustrative guide that will be developed is really sort of a form-based code light. Our current zoning code, when I was on the Planning Commission, was 289,000 words. We've added words to that because we've adopted several specific plans since then. A zoning code that's over 300,000 words is really a nightmare for neighbors to be able to rely on it for consistent guidance, to know what can be built in their neighborhood, and for developers and property owners who want certainty when they buy and sell property and come in to ask for entitlements and building permits. So this will improve the outcome of design and improve the quality of homes, not only for the neighbors who live near, but for the people who live in those buildings. And it will make it easier and less expensive for people to develop high-quality housing in our city, which is much needed and which shouldn't be the subject of subjective, protracted wrangling, but should be clear. If you follow our rules, you can build in Pasadena. If you don't follow our rules, you should go elsewhere. And we want to see high-quality developers build high-quality buildings, and the cumulative impact of that be high-quality neighborhoods in our specific plan areas.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Well said. I would just say, I think what you meant is developers have skimmed, not we, but developers have skimmed on the design, and now we're going to codify mandates that prevents developers from skimping and giving us a design that isn't.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mayor. There are some times when, frankly, our design commission, well-intentioned, has given mixed signals about what we're looking for, and sometimes that has made it difficult to design high-quality developments. You know, when a project goes on, as the project across the street from us tonight, for 3 years in design review, that doesn't, in that case, it actually improved the design. There's no question about it. But protracted design commission is often frustrating for the commissioners, for the staff, and for the developers. So objective design standards, I think, will serve us better.
Of course, the Planning Commission never did that when you were on there and Mr. Lyon was on there, or accused of that. Mr. Lyon?
Thank you, Mayor. I only need maybe 2 minutes. I have a short comment and one question. I appreciated the shout out for Mr. Cole, but my role in this on the Planning Commission was mostly limited to saying, you should go do that. And then that work I was right when I rolled off the Planning Commission, and that work has gone on for 3 years of really consistent, hard work on the staff and the Design Commission, the Planning Commission. And it's really fruitful. And for people listening or watching, I think it's probably hard to understand why or how this is so significant. But in this age, when we have state housing mandates, and we're seeing those start to really come to fruition in our city, this is we can weather greater density in the city, but this is the way we keep Pasadena feeling like Pasadena and looking like our city, even as we see more and more development come in. And so I just think it's extraordinary work. I really, really do. And thank you. My only question is a point of clarification, and I was glad for the illustrations in here because even as a person who's done a fair amount of work in the planning and design world, when I was reading them, I was like, I think I know what that ends up looking like. So I appreciated the illustrations. The illustrations all happen to show historic buildings and kind of Mediterranean buildings. But to be clear, the objective design standards work with any design vernacular, right? You could come with a modern thing. You could come with some other form than Mediterranean.
Yes, it lends that the type 2 is more Mediterranean style based on the way the standards are designed. But we didn't want the mixing of styles, which is what we've seen as a lot of the hybrid, where you get kit of parts of different things and then there's really no style there. And so we took the traditional elements that we want, and then but it can be added to a modern, it could be a more traditional. It doesn't dictate the exact style.
Great. All right. Thank you for all the work on this, I will be excited to vote yes in a moment.
Absolutely.
I also neglected to raise the questions, and you said there would be a slide on that.
Yeah, we had gotten some comments the last time from Abundant Housing and a few others about, they had, I think, when we put a slide together to address them, which I think might be helpful, because I think some of them just need clarification, and some things to explain why we're proposing what we're proposing, and then we're open to some ideas on some things. So maybe, Martin, if you wouldn't pull up the back pocket slide on the comments on the standards. Thank you. And I'll let you want to walk through them, Martin?
Sure, yeah. So like Director Page mentioned, we did get a couple of comments that we want to walk through. One of them was a comment about loosening the restrictions on balconies and allowances to have balconies protrude more than 2 feet from a building facade. So the proposed standards would limit balcony projections on street-facing facades only. There wouldn't be any restrictions on other facades, so like an interior lot line or something like that. And as proposed, this standard would apply to type 1 development, so more of the modern buildings, but not apply to type 2 development. We also received a comment about allowing facade lengths to be shorter than 45 feet for smaller multifamily buildings and housing on small sites or irregular lots. So the proposed standards don't require a minimum facade length. There is a standard related to facade lengths, which applies when a building facade is greater than 100 feet in length. And at that point, you would have to incorporate a facade break. And on either side of the break, a building facade could not be smaller than 45 feet. But there's no minimum otherwise, though. There's also a comment about adjusting the solid to void ratios to allow for more options in window spacing. And the comment noted that the proposed standards would likely result in smaller windows. The proposed solid to void ratios were intended to complement the traditional building types that we've seen in Pasadena, but they're a range for both type 1 and type 2, so they would allow for a variety of window sizes and spacing. There's a couple more comments that we received. There was a comment about allowing more than 2 materials and colors on exterior walls and allowing a wider range of finish materials. So the proposed standards would allow no more than 2 primary materials and 2 primary colors for exterior walls. Accent colors would be permitted for secondary elements such as a door or window frame. And the standards would require that the materials be high quality and durable and complement traditional building types in Pasadena. But on a building facade that's long enough to require a facade break, the facades on either side of those breaks could use different materials and use different colors to differentiate themselves. So you could have a situation where you had more than 2 colors on a building, it's just they're on different facades. There was a comment about allowing up to 30% of buildings' bases to be recessed by up to 4 feet to allow for seating areas, ADA features, and expanding the public realm. And the standards as proposed would not restrict the base from being recessed, so that could be a possibility. And then lastly, there were some questions or some comments about options for massing and articulation, including no facade breaks for facades of up to 125 feet in length, allowing facade breaks to be partially open to the sky, and reducing the facade breaks to being 8 feet in width and depth. So the proposed standards require those facade breaks only for building lengths of 100 feet or more. And again, that was geared towards matching historic development patterns in Pasadena. And that included when breaks occur that they're usually open to the sky. Staff did look at the 8-foot depth and width requirement and would be amenable to having that be the minimum break requirement instead of 10 feet. And those were the comments that we received and responses.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Madison.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm impressed by this. I think it's well-intentioned, but I'm uneasy about certain aspects of it. I think, the joke is true, right, that the design commission, they're supposed to do design review, but they actually design your project for you, and generally they're architects who have different visions of what they see. So any move toward objective standards that can be more efficiently applied is to be welcomed. But for me, the uneasiness is, aren't we basically legislating taste?
Not necessarily. It's standards rather than taste is what I would say. And I think what came out of this process, 3 years and many, many meetings, it was the public and the commissioners walking the streets and looking at things that they like and don't like. They were trying to pull out.
Okay, but you just said it, that they like and they don't like.
But I wasn't done.
Okay.
When you look at a building, there's some subjectivity to it, but what are the things that what are the common threads that you think make a quality building? Not so much style. It's not like it should be modern, it should be craftsman, it should be Mediterranean. It's not those types of comments. It's proportion. It's the ground floor, the scale of the ground floor. It's how do you enter a building? It's those types of things that they were drawing out. That's why this took so long, because a lot of thought went into really trying to pull out what are those features of a building, and it doesn't matter what the style is. That we think should be carried over into the quality design. So it's not so much taste, it's really what are the qualities of a building that they felt embodied what they wanted to see in Pasadena.
Yeah, I just think quality is so subjective. I mean, remember, they wanted to tar and feather the guy that built the Eiffel Tower. And it's the world's greatest icon now. And so, for example, when we say simple box massing, no articulation ever?
There's required articulation, actually.
So what does simple box massing mean? And I think it goes on to say without articulated features. So how does that make room for articulation?
So for the type 1 buildings, the articulation would occur when you have a building of a certain length, where the building becomes very long on the street. Then you would have it articulated in a way that it would create a streetscape of different looking buildings along the street. And that's how you would articulate that form. The type 2 form is articulated in kind of a Mediterranean way. So we talked about exterior stairs and tower elements and changes in height that would articulate those building volumes. So again, we were drawing on those buildings from Pasadena's traditional development patterns that fit well next to smaller scale development that exists and kind of work together with a lot of different types of existing development on the streetscape. And so it's like Director Page said, creating those proportions and features that allow those buildings to sit comfortably within any type of context. So you have a base, middle, and top. You have a pattern of fenestration that creates a solid to void relationship that is balanced. And there's ranges that a developer can use to create something that is.
But who am I to substitute my judgment for that of the investor or the developer or the residents?
I think you're just talking about design review in general. I mean, I think if you go back to the slide, we have a history of expansive design guidelines that we've applied as part of what are the expectations in Pasadena is that you're going to build quality buildings.
No question.
And you're going to go through design review. And it may be at staff level, it may be at commission level, depending on what it is. But that's part of the character of what we built into Pasadena. And so I think that's integral into our development process. And so, you know, what we've done on the flip
So this isn't needed?
No, we do think it's needed. And it's actually going to help expedite, because we're going to have these objective standards where it's very clear. We're taking some of the subjectivity out of it and give someone a consolidated process where it's actually 2 steps instead of 3. If they choose to, you know, build at a density, then they're unlocking a 2-step process, and we're giving them clearer and more concise standards. So we're trying to streamline housing at the same time. So we're really trying to balance all of those. I mean, this was, I think, as noted by council members Cole and Lyon, this took 3 years. It was very difficult to do. It's not easy to try to identify the features that we're extracting from many different opinions, you know, get some commonality between design commissioners, planning commissioners, public, staff, experts, draw those things out. Those are kind of the 6 areas that we have in the staff report that relate to massing, base, fenestration, entries. There's key areas. It's not everything. Then turn those into objective standards that meet a legal objective standard where anybody can pick it up and read it and understand what that standard is. There's no subjectivity to it at all.
So is our goal to become like Ojai, where every structure looks the same?
We don't dictate that. We don't say what your colors are. We don't say what your materials are.
Oh, we say you can only have 2 colors.
But we don't say what they are.
But only
and-
2. So the 3rd color is,
You can have additional colors for other parts of the building, like the window recesses, the door insets. There's different parts where you can have different accent colors, but we don't want 5 colors on a building
because
we don't like that.
yeah, it sounds pretty much like a matter of taste, and
But
that may be okay.
We regulate colors now. We regulate colors now in our other design guidelines, under a subjective form. So we're becoming more clear in what we're directing people to do. So we're going into the direction of becoming more clear, but we have these in our existing standards now. We regulate colors and materials. And it's not clear. That's what happens when you go through design review, so.
Yeah. So I'd like to support the motion, and is there a built-in come back and see us and let us know how it's going?
There's not, but we can always revisit.
Yeah,
And I
I'd
think
really appreciate that if we did have that, because until we start getting applications, and who knows, in a year or 5, you know, how this will work out. So perhaps when we get a motion, if that's a part of it, I'd really embrace that.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point. That was part of the conversation at the Planning Commission was there's a lot of pressure to feel like you have to get it right. We want to get it right. And we noted that we can always come back and make adjustments. If we see something that needs to be adjusted, then we can come back and do that. So we can report back on how things are going and do that work.
And then I was a little surprised that there's no sign off by the city attorney on this. Even the staff report contains a memo referring to state law around density bonuses and things. Wouldn't we be much more comfortable doing this if we had the city attorney's imprimatur of scrubbing it legally?
So we've been working with the city attorney throughout this process, and we're writing the ordinance, and they're going to do the final review of the objective standards. They have to meet a requirement that they're legally objective. Staff's been doing the work, and then they'll get a once-over by the attorneys to make sure they meet the legal standards.
Yeah, I mean, I would have felt better if on the staff report, there was a signature by the city attorney's office as well, but Michelle, will you make that part of your ordinance presentation when it comes back? I mean, it's sort of implicit. You wouldn't bring us
Certainly.
an ordinance that was illegal. But,
Certainly.
yeah.
And I will say that our assistant city attorney has been working very closely with staff
Great.
on this.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Those are my
Thank you.
questions. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I mean, all important points, but I think notifying people who are in the development business upfront what our expectations are, and also committing ourselves to remove some of the subjectivity and be objective should help all sides. And that's the goal, both the developer, the city, residents, commissions, and commissioners. So, Ms. Well,
I'm happy to hold my comments till after everyone's.
yeah, why
had
don't
a
we
chance.
go, Ms. Rivas?
I don't have much to add. I just wanted to thank staff because this has been a long time coming. It's been a lot of work. So thank you for all your hard work, and also the planning commissioners and everyone else who's had a part of this. It's really impressive work. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rivas. Mr. Cole?
I really appreciate my colleagues raising the issues that he did, because I think they're fair questions. And I think that putting on the record the response to those questions will be helpful, not only for the public, but for going forward. And I agree with his desire to come back. I think that should be a standard for major policies and programs, that we come back and evaluate how they're doing. I think that would have helped us in some cases, such as the leaf blower ban. I would offer three things, not only to Mr. Madison's point, but to the general concern of are we legislating taste? The Eiffel Tower is a unique building, and he's absolutely right that the Eiffel Tower was controversial at the time. But Paris is made up of buildings that house people that are almost entirely standardized. They're largely the same height. They follow the same building form. They have different colors and different architectural features, but there's a uniformity to blocks of Paris post the rebuilding of Paris in the late 19th century. And it creates an absolutely world-class environment. And if you look around at the standard, the New York brownstone, the Baltimore row house, the Chicago fourplex, even the single-family craftsman homes in Pasadena, certain degree of compatibility actually helps create a sense of neighborhood and a sense even below the neck of people, not necessarily consciously feeling comfortable, but feeling comfortable in their heart and soul walking down a street that has a certain degree of compatibility. The second thing is that we've been down this road once before. In the 80s, the standard development of apartments and condos was to tear down a single-family craftsman house with a garage in the back and stack 4 to 5 or 6 units back to back to back, perpendicular to the street. So whereas the front door of the craftsman was on the facing the sidewalk behind a setback, now the front door was on the side on a little 5-foot walkway that no one ever used, because everyone went downstairs into the semi-subterranean garage and went out in their car through the 20-foot wide driveway. And because the interior demising walls of these perpendicular units didn't have any doors and windows because they were smushed together, there was no doors or windows on the front side of the building. So you had 2.5-story blank walls, where once you had a sense of neighborhood and you had front doors and windows that faced the street. So we came up with the City of Gardens. It's worked tremendously for 40 years. It's an award-winning program. And if you look around at what's been developed in the last 40 years compared to what was developed in the previous 20 years, it's night and day in terms of making you feel like a neighborhood. And one of the reason it's called the City of Gardens is because all the front doors have to be on a garden or a courtyard, which is compatible with what was built in Pasadena before World War II. So I think Pasadena has stood the test of time. Paris has stood the test of time. Historic neighborhoods in New York, Baltimore, Chicago, cities around the world have stood the test of time. These are timeless principles of design, of what makes good neighborhoods, makes walkable neighborhoods, makes neighborhoods with a sense of community. And they can be translated into modern materials and modern designs, but they have to respect the timeless principles that have made life in Pasadena as rich as it is, and I think will assuage some of the fears and anxiety that people have as we move to higher densities.
City of Gardens is the perfect example. I agree. Okay, public comment?
Jacob Pierce, and then I think everyone else listed is virtual. P.A. Brown, Millie, who is not checked in, Mike Canavan, and then Sam Alcorn.
Sir?
2 minutes, go ahead. I'll bring a bell when you have 30 seconds.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Director Page, for that informative presentation and for providing additional context. That was very helpful. Yeah, we're very excited about this item. Objective standards are a way to deliver housing that meets the needs of the community, that meets the way the community expects housing to look, that meets the community benefits that development can serve, and also is a way to provide more predictability so that we're actually building housing and not seeing it just tied up in delays that then can stop housing from getting built and disincentivizing future housing from being proposed. Just a couple quick items. Again, thank you so much for the response to Abundant Housing LA's questions. I still would ask that you look at the balcony issue on street-facing facades. You know, I think from the livability perspective of a tenant, you could ask yourself if you would want to live, you know, in a unit with a 2-foot balcony. Maybe it's better than no balcony, but it's not the kind of space that would allow you to have a, you know, comfortable chair or a table out there. So something to consider. And then also really appreciate the openness to some of the parameters around, you know, the 8-foot versus other lengths and the breaks. That came to us from a Pasadena-based developer, Andrew Slocum, who some of you may know. And it was a lot of that is based on the length of the materials that developers are using to build. So I can report back and get additional information about that tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. P.A. Brown is participating virtually, as is Mike Canavan and then Sam Alcorn. Millie is not in the... Okay. P.A. Brown?
Thank you. My name is P.A. Brown. I'm a resident in District 6. Just for the record, I'm not a developer, not a builder, not involved in real estate, just a resident that has two 20-something daughters, both working. Neither can on their own afford housing here. I don't want the message to them to be, you should go elsewhere. And I think it's hard to say that the City of Gardens has been a success. I think it's been a success from the aesthetic standpoint. I think we're in a housing crisis, and I think everyone knows that. We don't have enough housing. We don't have enough affordable housing. We should be doing everything we possibly can to make it easier to build, less expensive to meet regulatory requirements, and to reduce those regulatory requirements. And I do take the point that removing subjectivity is a good thing. I think that's well intended. But I just have to say, I think this goes way down in the weeds of being way too specific on design elements. My daughters don't care, you know, what kind of building they're in. They just want somewhere they can afford. And I would urge the council to have a built-in review of this because we haven't been building enough housing. We haven't been building enough housing for 40 years, and we need to build more. And so I would urge another look at what regulatory revisions can be made to make it easier to build, less expensive to build, because if it's less expensive to build, it'll be more affordable for the many residents in Pasadena who may not have aesthetics at the top of their list. Thank you.
Thank you. Millie is not in the meeting. We'll move on to Mike Canavan and then Sam Alcorn, and then Sandy Anala turned in a speaker card, who's in person.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak again. I'm Mike Canavan. I'm a Pasadena resident. I just want to speak in support of these design standards. I have a feedback on a few issues, but I know this is a culmination of a lot of work for staff and the planning and design commissions. And I just want to first commend the proposal for creating a really important pathway where we can address both the need for more dense housing and our continuing need for a beautiful, livable city. I know, however well-intentioned, design review has been a big stumbling point for a lot of very important projects, including affordable housing. And I know that is frustrating for all parties, developers, commission members, and I hope these objective standards will give the Design Review Commission some tools and some guiding principles that will make their job easier as well. So I do want to echo, Jake's concern about the balconies. I live in an apartment. I live on the 4th floor. I am, I have a balcony. I have never directly measured it. I believe it to be something like 4 or 5 feet. But I do think, I know there are aesthetic considerations, but I think we also need to focus just as much on livability for residents of these developments. And we don't want to create an amenity that is in the end pretty much unusable. At 2 feet, you're not going to be doing much on your balcony. So I hope we can really consider that, and maybe when we return to recheck and see how all these things are going, make sure that we're not depriving those residents who are facing the street of this amenity that other units in the building may have. So I think just as a general point, I think there's a lot of concern in this city and elsewhere that what's built in high-cost cities is luxury housing rather than more naturally affordable housing, and that's a really complicated point. Yes.
Your
Sorry, go ahead.
time is expiring or expired?
Okay.
Expired.
Absolutely. Sorry, I didn't see a light. It's not like commenting in person. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then Sam Alcorn and then Sandy Anala. 1 second. Mr. Alcorn, are you there? Or Miss Alcorn? Could you unmute?
The permit streamlining.
There you go. Okay, we're starting now. Start over. We didn't hear what you said at the beginning. Go ahead, Mr. Alcorn.
Sorry, my headphones ran out of batteries.
You're good. Go ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead. All right, we're going to come back. We'll do Sandy and all, and then we'll go back to Mr. Alcorn.
I don't know how many of you have sat in on Housing Design Review Commission meetings, but I've sat in on a few, and I've always wondered, with respect to Steve Madison's comment, how much creativity are we allowing developers these days? The commissioners seem to be very picky about what materials and what colors you can put on the outside of the building, where you plant trees. Any innovation in the structure, the debate endlessly, and the housing developers seem to keep coming back to the Housing Commission meetings over and over with minor tweaks in the design to try to satisfy the committee, and then the committee comes up with something new. I think to an extent we have to be very careful about not impeding creativity, but my personal concern is more with engineering standards. You've got great standards for what the building is going to look like. Do we have standards to inhibit fire moving from one apartment to another? Do we have standards for materials that will be used on the roof to prevent the kind of fires that we've had recently? And this is evoked by the recent problems that we've had. Do we have standards for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning? Some of the modern apartment buildings are very well equipped. Many of the apartment buildings are not so well equipped for housing and ventilation. Are we looking at these standards with respect to housing for older people? Are we looking at these standards with respect to massed housing for people that can't afford so much? Finally, I live in an older apartment building. It has no real fireproofing standards. There are minimal smoke detectors. There's no real sprinkler system anywhere within the building. It was built so long ago, there's no clear fireproofing between the apartments. Is our design commission ever going to go back and take a look at retrofitting pre-existing buildings to make certain that we're not going to burn down additional large tracts of property in Pasadena and adjoining areas?
Thank you. And then we'll go back to Sam Alcorn virtually. See if we can overcome the technology.
Good evening, Mayor Gordo and council members. My name is Sam Alcorn, and I'm a resident of District 3. The Permit Streamlining Act entitlement approval deadlines for discretionary projects, like those subject to design review, have been on the books since 1977. Reliance on subjective design review has been the primary factor that prevents the city from meeting these deadlines. The Office of the Attorney General, in its guidance document from this November regarding PSA enforcement, explicitly reinforced the mandate the local jurisdictions must strictly adhere to these statutory deadlines. Recent legal cases, such as the ruling in Santa Barbara, confirm the consequences for missing these deadlines are finally being enforced. The project is deemed approved, resulting in the city losing its ability to impose conditions or make revisions. I urge you to adopt these standards and to direct staff to prioritize PSA compliance for all projects utilizing this new pathway, allowing our design review process to finally respect the statutory timelines that have been in place for longer than I've been alive, and I count myself as middle-aged. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That completes public comment on this item.
Okay. Mr. Cole?
I want to thank my colleagues again. I want to thank, as all of us have, the staff for this outstanding work. I would offer the motion, staff recommendation with three additions. One, Mr. Madison's suggestion I would offer, and Mr. Madison, if you have a different view, 18 months after the adoption of the ordinance, no more than, which would not preclude them coming sooner, right? If there are tweaks that, but at least, but it won't even go in effect until we adopt the ordinance. The second change would be one that the planning staff have acquiesced to, which is the 8-foot rather than 10-foot, which is more building standards. And finally, I think the balcony issue is a real issue, and that was a last-minute addition at the Planning Commission, well-intentioned, but I think it's a question, as one of the callers said, of aesthetics over livability. A 2-foot balcony is not a real balcony. So I would either say not have a limit, or if people feel like there has to be some limit, it be no less than 5 feet as a limit, because people need it. I'm sorry, that the limit be no more than 5 feet, but I don't know that we need a limit. I would be more comfortable just simply striking that addition made at the Planning Commission and going with the original draft. So those three are part of my motion to adopt the staff recommendation.
Ms. Page, so the balcony issue, I was curious about the rationale behind 2 feet versus, what was the staff's original recommendation?
Staff didn't have a recommendation. Our specific plans right now have a 4-foot maximum. So I think if we were going to set something, we'd probably recommend it be 4 feet, so it matches what was already in the specific plans. It was brought up at the Planning Commission by the commissioners. Some of the commissioners had concerns about, quite frankly, aesthetics, and that if you had too much space, it becomes something where people are using it for storage and other things. And on the street-facing facades, it looked like a little bit more unkempt space. And so that was really the concern, and that's what it was derived from. So it was making it smaller, so you didn't become storage spaces that you'd see from the street.
It's a legitimate concern, but I think it's outweighed by making a balcony actually useful, that people can go out there and have, an opportunity to enjoy sitting at a table and watching the sun go down.
Yeah. Now I thought we could, or I'll just ask the question, do we regulate storage on balconies? I thought that we did. Or storage from the public right of way?
Not really. It'd have to be raised to the level that it became a code enforcement matter. So, someone putting, some people, you might see when you're driving that some people will buy like prefab storage cabinets and things that they'll put outside on their balconies, and you can do that. You can keep things in your storage cabinets, you can put different things. We don't regulate if you have what type of furniture and what
No,
you store
no,
out there,
that's-
but it'd have to be something that was really unsightly and rise to a level of a code enforcement
Well,
issue.
it's both a aesthetic, but also a public safety issue. If somebody's using it for storage, you know, it could be unsafe. So I think that's something that ought to be looked at going forward for both the public safety perspective as well as the aesthetic. It's intended to be a patio, and we're giving essentially by right the ability to have up to 4 feet, but it should be a patio, not a storage unit that defeats the purpose of a patio.
Sure.
And so I think, and has the added problems of, you know, creating aesthetic blight as well as potentially a public safety issue.
Which would apply to every building that's already been built too, so
Yeah.
we should take a look at the
Not-
issue comprehensively.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not just a public safety issue for the residents of the unit that are using a patio or a balcony for storage, but for the other residents in the building as well. Okay. Ms. Rivas?
Mayor, just to the maker of the motion. Oh, did you?
Oh, no,
Just if-
Mr.
on
Joe.
this- Go ahead. I was going to ask something on this line of discussion.
I was just going to ask clarifying the motion, but go ahead.
Yeah, can I ask something really quickly? I mean, I hear what you're saying, Mayor, and I'm glad, thank you, Jennifer, for explaining the Planning Commission's rationale. I don't fully understand it, because as written, it just says the balcony cannot protrude more than 2 feet, but that doesn't preclude anyone from having a balcony within the facade. So the rationale and the solution for it don't align.
Yeah, that's right. You can have a recessed portion. It's just
Exactly.
how far, so but it came from aesthetic. So part of it's, how far out, and then often, and staff can interject if I'm missing pieces, there's like maintenance underneath the area sometimes becomes difficult over time, and what does it look like, and what's the material, and but it was around different aesthetic issues.
Okay, so now I'd like clarification on the motion as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like clarification. Are you striking the planning commission's recommendation, or are you including it?
Striking the balcony.
On balcony, I'm sorry, yes, on balcony, yeah, not
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
To the
That-
4 feet in the specific plans.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
good to me.
And one other item that was raised in the correspondence, and I would ask if there's any objection to it, but Planning Commissioner Delgado, and I don't know if she raised it at the Planning Commission, was outvoted, but she wanted to allow someone from a smaller site than 2 acres to also be able to choose the design review route if they want to. It's hard for me to see a rationale why we would prohibit developers from going through that torture.
It was raised at
To the whole
planning-
creativity issue, right,
Yeah.
that we've heard about.
It was raised at the Planning Commission, and there was a discussion, that's part of the reason that they came up with the 2 acres. There was some concern, I think, about inhibiting creativity, and does it matter the size of the, lot, if it's a small lot or a big lot, or a parcel? And I think the kind of the end of the discussion was, and what staff's response was, is we were directed to develop these standards as requirements, so we didn't really have the flexibility. This would have to come from the Planning Commission. This is a policy decision on how you want to apply these. When we were developing them, they were always developed to be required.
Yeah.
And then if you had a large site, a 2-acre site, those would be sites that you might have seen qualify for a PD before, and there's not that many of them. It's a Space Bank and Parsons, those types of, and those really would benefit from, it's going to be many buildings where you would have a lot more flexibility that you'd want built into those, and so those should go through the traditional process. So it really is a policy.
I'm comfortable with the existing recommendation of 2 acres, but I thought I would raise the point made by Commissioner Delgado. I'm okay with that if others feel that's important, but if not, my motion will stand.
Okay.
I think this is a good issue. Sorry, just one quick
Mr.
comment.
Lang?
A good issue to visit at the 18-month mark, because we may, it's likely, I think, that this is going to want some tweaks, right? Because it's so prescriptive that we're going to hear things we didn't maybe anticipate from developers or people living in the housing. And so we can move along. It's also conceivable that we could add a type 3, right? At some,
Yes.
with some other.
Yeah,
set
and
of
I think, I mean,
factors.
two other points I'll make. These were like surgical, so they really were, that's why part of this, again, took so long, is it was extracting out where the rub was in these buildings. And so that's why they're targeted. There's these key areas that we're looking at, so it's not wholesale. And someone could still ask for a waiver or waivers, depending on the amount of affordability in the project. So if something really is inhibiting them from building at the density that they need to build, they can ask for a waiver from these standards. So they always have that option as well still available.
Yeah, they can just ignore it all. Thanks to the state. Okay, so let's close the public hearing.
So moved.
Are there any, well, let's do a roll call. This is a lot of work. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, no. Any objections to closing the public hearing?
Mayor, before we do, I just want to see if staff is good with the 18-month comeback. Does that work?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
So motion to close the public hearing. Any of the objections? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Now on the merits of the motion. We'll conduct a roll call recognizing the amount of work put in by Jennifer and Mr. Potter and the entire team at the planning department, the commissioners, the public. This is a lot of work over a long period of time, and so on behalf of the council, thank you all. Okay. So roll call.
To approve the staff recommendation with the amendments, there was an 18-month review. I didn't catch the second one, which was 8 foot rather than 10 foot, but I don't know.
We know what that is. We can help with
You
the
know what
language,
that
yes.
is. And the third was the balcony issue, no more than 5 feet as a limit, is what I heard.
4.
Change it to 4.
It was changed to 4. Thank you for that. All right. Councilmember,
8 feet 4.
could you clarify that piece? Sorry. That went over my head. I didn't understand it.
Which piece?
The,
Pull up to the slide.
It's to allow for,
Say it the right way.
Yeah.
allow for the articulation between facades to be 8 feet in depth rather than 10.
Okay.
Thank you.
So minimum 8 feet.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Cole?
Yes.
Councilmember Hampton is absent. Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Lyon?
Yes.
Councilmember Madison?
Yes.
Councilmember Masuda?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rivas?
Yes.
Mayor Gordo?
Yes.
Motion is approved unanimously.
Again, thank you to all involved, staff, community, and commissioners. Great work. Okay. I think that.
One more.
Oh, that's right. On this next matter, it involves rental housing ordinance review, and so consistent with my practice, because I own rental property in the city, I'm going to recuse myself. Ms. Rivas?
Point of order, the record should probably reflect that Mr. Hampton's recused also, even though he departed earlier.
Incorporating Plan Commission recommendations. He is. He has the.
Oh, you got the new.
So. As amended. So it incorporated the planning commission recommendations as amended. Okay, so we are up to item number 12. And there was some correspondence on this item. City Clerk's Office received 5 letters expressing concerns with the Pasadena Rent Stabilization Department and the staff report and/or advocating for an audit/assessment of the Rent Stabilization Department, and 3 letters in support of the Rent Stabilization Department and their work in assisting both landlords and tenants in the city. The correspondence was distributed to the council, posted online as part of the record for this item. This is item 12.
Great. And given
Vice
the-
Mayor, it's after 10.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. Given the
Yeah.
late hour, is there an interest in a full presentation from
Not on my
members of the
part,
council?
certainly, to try to move along.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I know it is after 10. Perhaps you can just share a couple brief highlights, but the report was very thorough. The attachments and whatnot were very illustrative of all the amazing work that's been going on implementing the will of the voters. So can you just give us a few short highlights and then we'll go to public comment?
Sure. Sorry. Helen Morales, Director of Rent Stabilization. And I want to thank you, Vice Mayor and council members. Today, I just want to highlight some brief items. Our rental registry, we are now in cycle 2 with approximately 87% compliance rate for the second cycle, 90% compliance, just over 90% compliance for the first year. We're working to gain 100% compliance on that. Additionally, I will point out that it was our intent to come forward with the Rental Housing Board at the same time with this report, so we could give you a more thorough report. So we will be coming back in January. That will be a more inclusive report. It will be a report of both the Pasadena Rental Housing Board and the department on our joint work together and collaboration that we've been doing. And so you might have more questions then, but we hope to answer even more of your questions through that information and data that we'll be presenting then.
Great, we appreciate that. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you in January and maybe asking some more questions. But
Thank you.
any questions right now before going to public comment? All right.
I'm reassured by that commitment, because I think what's before us today is, should we have a department? And I don't think that's a controversy. That we need a department. That was a good decision by the city council 2 years ago. And the thought was, let's make sure it remains a good idea. I think that the fact that we have the question of how well we're doing and how we can improve, I think that's worth discussion. But tonight, we're not really deciding any of that. And if we have an opportunity in January to talk about that in more depth, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think we all look forward to that.
Okay, we have 3 speaker cards: Ed Leo, Simon Ibarra, and then Vijay Venkatesh, but I don't believe that person's in the meeting virtually. So Ed Leo is? I think he left. He left. Mr. Ibarra, I see you in the back.
Hey,
2
y'all.
minutes. Go ahead.
I am here because I want to give a little bit of comment on my thoughts on the department so far over the last 2 years. It's been a bit of a bumpy road. There have been some implementation issues ranging from like the initial miscalculation of the number of rental units in Pasadena that caused some pretty big budget changes. But overall, I'm very pleased with the department's progress. I was able to complete one of my own rental petitions earlier this year. And I think that the process that they have set up is effective and developing a canon of information that will be useful to the housing counselors and petition officers going forward. I also think that the report given tonight is filled with interesting statistics, like the complete lack of upward adjustment petitions so far. The only thing I am a little concerned about for the report is that there is no consistency with like the cutoff for the data here. Several of the items are for September or for June or for November, which may have been like an effect of collating the reports based on what they presented the Rental Housing Board this year. So I hope in January we get a fresh update on everything. But, you know, I'm pretty pleased. Good job.
Thank you so much.
The last one would be Vijay Venkatesh, but I don't believe they're in the, so that completes public comment on this item.
All right, I believe this is an informational item only, and it has a lot of incredible information that's useful for both landlords and tenants to understand the market. And so I think unless there's any further questions or comments, we look forward to seeing you again in January.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
By consensus.
Are we sure that we don't need to receive and file just to satisfy the reevaluation
I'll look to the
requirement?
city attorney. Do we need to take any action specifically receiving or filing, or is,
You don't have to, it doesn't hurt.
all right, received and filed? Thank you.
It's received and
Yeah.
it'll be noted as received and filed by consensus.
Great,
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Madison.
of course.
I believe that's the last item in our.
That's
That is-
real leadership, when you can make something happen without even making a motion.
Are there any concluding comments or before we wrap up?
We're here next week, right?
That's my understanding,
On the
yes.
15th, so we'll
Yes.
save our holiday wishes for that
All right.
meeting, perhaps.
Well, with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.